I accidentally just sent us live without counting you down because I forgot that this was a week in review. So if you want to do the intro, feel free.
Well, welcome everybody to TWitWoW, the best podcast on the internet today. I'm John, that's my core and commentary action, and this is the weekly recap. Let's jump right into it, because you know what? We have serious stuff to talk about this week, but I'm kind of taking a different tact with that, which I'll explain later. And I do think it's also going to be more of a fun week. So let's get right into the wrestling. I'm just going to start with you, bro. Did you watch any wrestling this week? Because I always feel like if you have, it's
Um,
better when you start the discussion so I can kind of orient myself.
yeah, well, SmackDown was on my TV this week, and I did catch some of what happened on the show peripherally while I was paying attention to other things.
Okay, so for me, let's talk about SmackDown since you mentioned that. The big thing I took note of was Kit Wilson getting over, because I think it was I'm guessing this show was it in no, it wasn't in Germany. Where was this
I
show this
believe
week?
this was the Wembley show. This was in Wembley
The
Stadium.
Wembley show. Okay, Kit Wilson got a huge pop from the crowd. I don't know if it's because international crowds and some
Well, I mean,
crowds want
he's
to like make
British,
moves.
and we're in London, so
Right. So I don't really know if that's going to stick per se. I just
spoiler
saying I'm
alert,
on the
it won't.
well, there you go. But I'm gonna choose to be a bit more open about it, maybe. And even if it doesn't immediately stick right away, maybe it could get there. All the same, I do want to give WWE credit. I mean, there's a lot we can discredit them for, and we have repeatedly. But in this one instance, I'm glad that they're still platforming Kit Wilson, because what happened to Elton, I mean, it sucks when any wrestler gets injured, especially when it's a neck injury that he had neck surgery on. I don't even know how old Elton is, but I know he's on the younger side. And to have a neck injury already, that is fucked.
Yeah.
That is an awful thing to deal with in your career so early. And I feel for him. But you know what? Kit shouldn't be punished for that.
No.
And I'm glad he's still getting work, or God forbid, even like, not getting released or whatever. Because that would just be awful. So the idea that not only are they platforming him, but we might have a little something. I will say this too, man. You heard how crazy they were going for his theme. WWE Music, the official channel for themes, uploaded that theme, so I was able to listen to it without crowd noise. It is a bop. Like honestly, if I was still like conscious of awards, which I kind of am, but not really, if I'm being honest. But if I was really conscientious of it, that would be my forerunner already for theme song of the year. It is a bop. It's great. I think it fits him perfectly. Crowd was into it. And again, this could be something that slowly gets over. So I'm definitely open to it. So I saw that, and then of course Jacob Fatu takes him out. But Sean, love his face so much. He shared with me a tweet that Kit posted, where he spelled out the words toxic, but the C at the end was the Jacob Fatu moonsault. And I guess his body was kind of bent in the shape of a C, kind of freeze frame there. So Kit's really trying to make this work, man. And I really,
Props to
I'm
him for
rooting for
sure.
him. Yeah, no, absolutely. Um, we had our little tournament to see the Fatal Four Way for Saturday night's main event to see who was going to face Drew McIntyre. Might be Randy Orton, because Randy Orton interrupted Drew's celebration. I didn't see the specifics of the segment. I'm just saying that happened. So we know Orton beat The Miz. He interrupted Drew. They could be gearing that up. Drew and Orton have a lot of history going back to one of Drew's WWE Championship babyface runs. In fact, I think Orton ended Drew's first reign, and then Drew would get it back against Orton for a second reign. And then I think either Lashley beat him for it or something. Some of the specifics are kind of hazy because it was so long ago. But, we know that those two have gone at it a lot. And so they could run it back very well. Sean made a great point about, Priest, because I actually forgot that Priest was the one that cashed in on Drew when he won the WWE World Heavyweight Championship 2 years ago at Mania. And then last year, Drew beat Priest, and I think it was like a Las Vegas street fight. So those two have a lot of history. We already have talked about how Sammy has never beaten Drew. And then Trick, like you said, has just said he wants the title. Trick wants to be the man immediately. And so while he has the most tenuous relation to McIntyre that's bound solely by the title, could still be a unique matchup if they wanted to keep us on our toes. So yeah, Orton beat Miz, Trick beat Cardona, which it kind of laid him out after, and that was the big pop. He kind of attacks him after his match, And he goes, toxic, toxic, toxic. And then his theme plays again, and the crowd goes crazy because fuck Mid Cardona. And then Sami Zayn beat Dragunov, running back the match where Dragunov beat Sami for the United States title. Sami wins this time. And I'm seeing that Jordan Grace had a face-off with Jade Cargill. The promos are going to be so cringe, probably, but the match could be interesting, so I'm going to keep my mind open.
That's a
And yeah,
great
that was
point.
a
Yeah, I didn't even. Yeah, I mean, I didn't even really put it together in my own mind. Like these last few weeks, where Jordan has been kind of up in Jade's business, that we're gonna have to deal with promos between these two. Ugh.
yes. Yes, we will, bud. Yes, well, I mean, we won't because we're kind of having an embargo
True.
so long. Yeah. Yeah, like, that's what you get for supporting fascism. I will say, independent of clips and just kind of live reacting to all of that, I did watch, because I don't really watch Evolve on Tubi anymore. I don't even really know what's going on with Evolve anymore because NXT got a huge shakeup, and more on that in a second. I did
Wait,
watch
NXT got a huge
Charlie.
shakeup.
Well, I mean, yeah, because Keanu Carver was on the show.
Oh, I've
Fucking
heard
somebody
about
else.
this. Okay, yeah. You
So
can go
again,
back
yeah,
to what
we're
you
gonna
were
get
gonna
to that.
say, though. Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna get to that. But just to talk about Evolve very quickly, because I really don't even watch it anymore. Um, I saw that Charlie Dempsey had a match with Timothy Thatcher, and so that was really cool because that's the kind of
That is
wrestling I
really cool. That
love.
sounds like it would be a lot of fun.
Yeah, no, it's the kind of wrestling I love. I know you're a big fan of like the realistic, kind of real graps mat wrestling. They
Yeah.
did that here. Dempsey does beat Thatcher with a Fujiwara armbar. I love when the classics get some love. And it's funny, man, because I loved NQCC, and I
Yeah.
really think Charlie, he both got the credit he was due, but also I think in ways he didn't get enough credit because I really do think he showed his personality in that faction. I think he showed that he's not quite like his dad, but nobody wants, I don't want William Regal 2.0. We
Yeah.
already had William Regal and I appreciate him. I want Charlie Dempsey 1.0. I like that his humor was definitely more laid back and like, it's almost like he's the smartest man in the room, but not in an obnoxious way. And he's like,
Right.
how does all of this surround me? Kind of thing. Um, so now that he doesn't have a pack anymore, and I'm still kind of healing a little bit from NQCC just being over, and I guess we may be doing Ren QCC kind of. I don't freaking know. But I'm
Well,
curious.
Ren and Kendall are like a team. Like they hang out a lot together. I know that.
I know it's Kendall and not Ken, but it makes me just want to say Ken QCC. So, we'll
Nice.
yeah, yeah. So, yeah, thank you, Foster, reminding me. He said Miz cashed in on Drew the second time. So that actually makes sense why Miz was even in this little tournament. And then Lashley beat him at the next Raw. Okay, yeah, that's right. Um, so yeah, I'm just curious how Dempsey will do on Evolve. Jackson Drake is
Ooh.
still the world champion, which kind of shocks me, honestly. But love him. I think he's the quintessential young prospect, just talent coming out of every pore of that kid. So I don't know where Dempsey's going to fit in the Evolve scheme, but it's just cool to see him, still not be released, still getting work and whatnot. But then you get to NXT. Now, I will say NXT intrigued me this week just from the YouTube clips that I watched. I did not watch the show. Although, what I saw in the YouTube clips, I'm thinking maybe for the women, I can tune back in a little bit because for one thing, we got Jada Parker back. She interrupted Blake Monroe. Now, what's exciting as fuck about this to me is they are finally, seemingly, embracing Jada as a babyface because the crowd was going nuts for her, bro. They're like, Jada Parker, and she's like openly smiling. She seems grateful. I think it even kind of blows her mind how over she is sometimes because hell, Meechin even said like, we know Jada puts on a character and everything, but like the real Jada Parker's a sweetheart. Which is why I'm rooting for her to grow and change because we've all been fed a lot of ignorance and propaganda over the years. But yeah, I mean, she comes back over as hell, smiling. She starts to talk, and then Blake just cuts her off immediately. And then Jada's like, "Didn't she hear me talking?" And she kind of laughs. And then Blake goes for a forearm. Jada doesn't take it, like she stops it. forearms Blake. They kind of do a little bit of a skirmish. And then Jada gets the kind of in the corner, dropping the hip kind of thing. And then the whole kind of bouncing motion, that motion she does, which again gets a huge pop from the crowd. And then she does hypnotic to send Blake out of the ring. Crowd's eating out of the palm of her hands. I'm telling you, now that JC has the title back, and I'm not thinking that Tatum is going to beat JC to like even it all up and definitively be the NXT Women's Champion. Jada should be the one to beat JC for that title. If you're going to keep Jada in NXT, she hasn't been called up yet. She is my favorite. Like, you got to beat JC Jane. You got to have that freaking run. I think the crowd has never been more ready to see Jada Parker be crowned in that way. She's a babyface now. All the stars seem to be aligning. So yeah, that's what I'm rooting for Jada Parker. How do you feel about them potentially finally embracing Jada as a babyface?
Oh, that's pretty cool. It would be nice if we knew for sure that she was a babyface in real life too, but we have no evidence of that.
That is true, but again, she's young. We've all been fed a lot of bullshit. I can only hope that she has surrounded herself even with one person that can, guide her along the way, because I realize we all need somebody. So that's all I can hope for. But yeah, I mean, she's talented, one of the best talkers in the fucking game. And really, I'd be curious, like, if she's going to keep that Stone Cold energy as a babyface, because that was the one gift of Stone Cold. Could be a heel, could be a babyface. I mean, he talked, you listened, and I really do feel like Jada has that same quality. But let us continue now. Tatum and Izzy are continuing their feud. Izzy, I gotta tell you, I enjoy her on the mic. I don't know if she's getting what she's due from the crowd. I mean, she is getting heat, but I don't know if it's the right kind of heat, because she did get chanted at the crowd to turn her mic off. And I'm like, damn, it's disrespectful. But,
Wait,
this
who
is
got
where
chanted at to turn their mic off?
Izzy Dame.
Holy shit.
Yeah, Women's North American Champion, Izzy Dame. But where Izzy is leagues ahead of the likes of Charlotte Flair and Ronda Rousey when she tried her hand at the business. And again, I emphasize Charlotte Flair because Charlotte has been showered with all these accolades when I feel like Izzy is a far more complete performer and she gets the subtleties of the business. She doesn't let it get to her. She doesn't break down, even though they're telling her, turn her mic off. She doesn't even. Here's the thing that I love about Izzy's promo style that I've noticed. She will very subtly acknowledge the crowd with like a look of disdain or disgust, but she'll never verbally acknowledge them. And I love that because it's almost like, I mean, the faction's called the culling. It's almost like she's culled the whole audience from her mind.
Well,
And she just
and
cuts her fucking
also
promo.
just the idea that like she is a heel, so the crowd telling her to turn her mic off means that she's good at her job and that she's over in the right way.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, that's how I'm choosing to look at it too, because I really don't want to believe that it's just go away heat when I really feel like she is genuinely talented. But yeah, man, she was getting turn your mic off chance. And then Tatum comes out at one point and that just immediately fighting, no words exchanged, anything else. There was a spot. Now I don't know if the ref was just overselling or if Tatum screwed up something. So officials are restraining Tatum, right, from getting her hands on Izzy, and Tatum headbutts one of the refs, and the ref is just like, he looks like he's writhing in pain, like holding his nose. And I'm like, that feels like more than a sell to me. I hope that it was just maybe an exaggerated sell because the headbutt looked nasty. And, then Tatum's kind of like clutching the middle rope, kind of peering her head out, as he's kind of looking at her from outside the ring. And she's like, that title's mine. You stole it from me. And then the one thing I was a bit disappointed in Tatum in, because I was hoping we'd be past these insults, in 2026. She called Izzy a skank. And I'm like, damn, I really didn't expect Tatum of all people to go there. And that kind of took me by surprise, to be honest. But yeah, I mean, Tatum very clearly has no love for Izzy Dame. So that's where that is. And then I guess talk about the only other big thing from NXT. Because I did see other stuff, but honestly, like, Lola Vice and Kalani Jordan are feuding. I like heel Kalani. I really couldn't give two shits about Lola, to be honest.
Yeah, same.
It's whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, we got an announcement for the NXT Championship because Oba left the title in the middle of the ring. Now, heel Ricky Saints thought that thought he was just going to be handed the championship because, I mean, who the fuck else, right? Like, who else is going to get the title but me? Don't be ridiculous. And yeah, Ava's just like, no, no, we're not going to do that. Actually, what we're going to do is, and what did I say in the Discord only like a week ago? Oh, it would be interesting if Tatum and Izzy had a ladder match because mostly ladder matches are just for multi-person purposes anymore. They're doing it again because it's going to be a 6-man ladder match for the vacant NXT championship. I'm like, it is amazing that you and I could be so divorced from the product and we just fucking know, dude. Like, cause it's just in us. God damn. I'm like, man, NXT, I didn't know I read you that hard. Um,
The hard
so,
read.
exactly. And now in subsequent weeks, they're going to do qualifying matches, but that's where it got interesting because I think Jackson Drake might have a qualifier. Oh, by the way, Swipe Right is still like with him, so they're still kind of like an entourage. I still think Swipe Right is a hell of a tag team. I have not watched them in months, but I doubt that they've depreciated to the point where I'd be like, ew, swipe left, like a mark. So I'm really excited about them being a part of the NXT tag division. I definitely think it's going to save it from so much uggo. And then Keanu Carver made a statement. He was laying out everybody. He was tossing bodies out of the ring. I have to wonder if NXT, wow, Foster. See, you're the only one that can get away with it because I love you and I would never call you a mark with the vitriol and the invectiveness that I call everybody else that term. God damn it, you're abusing your cute privileges. But I have to wonder if NXT is looking at Keanu Carver as maybe a spiritual successor to Oba, or if they're just going to give it to Ricky Saints and give him a heel run that Javon maybe. Actually, no, Javon got called up. So, yeah, we don't have to worry about Javon anymore doing any championship things in NXT. Great. So yeah, could be Keanu, could be Ricky, could be a babyface that just came out of nowhere. So I don't know, man. What are you thinking? Do you have any thoughts on this? This
Um,
ladder match?
I'm expecting Ricky to just win it. Honestly, he'll be in it, and maybe it'll seem like someone that the crowd likes is going to win it, and then he'll do something and he'll win. I honestly, I have so little interest in NXT right now because I just feel like they've fumbled so many booking decisions over the course of even just the last 6 months that like, even if I wanted to like, even if I was still watching it at a certain point, them having Oba just win the title back and then beat Javon and Leon Slater and then relinquish it would have made me probably want to stop watching again.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, man, for me right now, the only redeeming thing seemingly on NXT is the women, and even then, I mean, not completely because they're still very invested in Lola Vice, and I just don't see it, and stuff like that. So even that is very selective. So I can't blame you for that. But I
Well,
think
the
that
thing with Lola Vice
essentially
is that like even if she was really good in the ring, she's another right like Ronda Rousey situation. Her promos are awful.
promos are awful. When she did that feud with Roxanne,
Yeah.
I was like, okay, this is gonna be a real test for her, and she just bombed on the mic. I'm like, that's a
Yep.
wrap. That's a wrap. Uh, So that's essentially it for me on the wrestling. You said SmackDown was on in the background, so I don't think you'll have anything more to say. So I
I
guess with
do
that we
think
can.
that it would be
Yes.
interesting if Sami Zayn ended up being the WWE Championship challenger at Royal Rumble. But I also like that they've basically made it kind of up in the air. Like there's no obvious pick out of the four that made it to the Saturday night's main event. Um, it seems to me like it could be any of the four realistically. I mean, considering Drew just won the title, whoever does win that four way is probably not winning the title. So even just because of that fact, it makes me feel like even Trick could win and just get his first taste of the main event on the main roster and lose, have a good match with Drew, give people a taste of what he can do, and then kind of get like demoted back down to like the upper mid card where they probably really want him at for now.
Yeah. Yeah, I could essentially agree with that. All right. Let's try and do this next segment as painlessly as possible.
I
It
am
is
muting my mic.
politics. It is politics time. Just very quickly, this is going to be a bit more haphazard this week because I have some stories together, but not as comprehensive as I think the past 2 weeks. Things are still happening in Minnesota. ICE is pretty much cracking skulls, breaking windows, dragging people out of their vehicles. We're pretty much seeing abductions in broad daylight of U.S. citizens. But here's the thing. I had said at the start of the show I wanted to take a different tact. So let me kind of explain my thought process here. I feel like there is a difference between doomerism and being scared. Because to me, doomerism makes very authoritative claims, right? Like, it's over, there's nothing we can do, et cetera, et cetera. Whereas fear is a different framing. It's, I'm scared of this, I'm afraid that. It has a bit of ambiguity to it, where I feel like doomerism is more of a certainty in the negative, right? I'm done with certainty in the negative. Until I am shot point blank in the fucking face by these people, which who even knows what can happen? I feel like it's definitely going to get worse before it gets better. That isn't to say that it won't get better. I'm going to get to why I feel like it might in a minute. You know, we can't just say it's over, because every fucking hour of every day is a chance for something really incredible to happen, you know? And so, yes, ICE is still acting with complete lawlessness, just complete violence. The Democratic response, and this is where I said it was going to be a bit more of a haphazard segment, because I wish I could give you guys concise reporting on this, but it's been a bit of a mixed bag. I'm hearing on some things that some Dems are holding the line and they're saying no more funding for ICE. And then I've heard the Democratic line that really doesn't surprise me, that others are saying, listen, funding has to be contingent on body cams and de escalation training. And I need people to understand that for that segment of the Democratic Party, this should not surprise us, because really we should have been this up in arms with police brutality against black bodies, forever and a day ago. And when Joe Biden had the, response that I think really should define his presidency, one of the things that should define his presidency of, shoot them in the leg, not in the heart. That logic you had to know was going to be transposed on ICE eventually. Oh, we just need to de-escalate. We just need to let them know how to use the right amount of force. And I feel like all of these talking points obfuscate the deeper issue of the very idea of immigration and illegality in the first place. I've even talked to liberals that still buy into the false dichotomy of citizen and illegal. But the moment you buy into that dichotomy, right, the fascists win, because it's just a reconfiguration of the othering that fascists have done throughout history. Oh, the Jew isn't like you. The black man isn't like you. The trans woman isn't like it. It's just othering in a different tenor, right? You act humane because it's like, oh, well, they could go from illegal to citizen. They just have to go through this process. Yeah, this very bloated, bureaucratic, ineffectual process. Not to mention that there are plenty of refugees, either from climate or warfare, that don't really have the time to go through those channels because their lives are at stake. The whole edifice of immigration and borders ultimately serves fascist logics. And when liberals play into them thinking that they could just be reformed or whatever, while still keeping the fundamental dichotomy of illegal and citizen, you're playing into the fascist hands, and we're seeing it here. So this segment of the Democratic Party that says de-escalation training and body cams. I mean, and then the best one. I know you muted your mic, bro, but I need your live reaction to this. Have you heard
I'm here.
about Representative Richie Torres's idea that there could be like a QR code on an ICE agent that you scan and you get their information pulled up?
I did
Because
not
that was
hear about
wild to
that.
me.
No.
That was wild to me. Yeah, Representative Richie Torres proposed this, and then somebody, I forget who, and I wish I could do better at attribution, but it was some YouTube short or TikTok that I watched where they were like, pretending to be on the ground because ICE's boot is on their fucking face, and they've got their phone and they're trying to scan the QR code. Like, they are living in a fundamentally different reality than we are,
Yep.
by choice, by the way, for a lot of them by choice, because they come from a lot of the same donors, they have a lot of the same interests. When it comes to, because I do want to try and separate the wheat from the chaff, even though I have made my position perfectly clear. I don't trust any Democrat. I don't care if you're a social democrat. I don't care if you use the word socialist, because hell, Nazis use the word socialist too. Now, granted, they're two different worlds, but I still feel like ultimately, by a matter of degree, they serve ruling class interests, right? Because even with quote unquote democratic socialism, you're still pillaging and exploiting the global south. You're still doing imperialism. You're just doing imperialism in the name of welfareism and not just brute empire, which honestly, I don't really even think makes it much better, but that's a separate debate. But yeah, to separate the wheat from the chaff a little bit, I mean, you have people like AOC and others saying ICE should be abolished. Abolish ICE, which is gaining traction among the voting base. 46% of people now want to abolish ICE. 43% are still opposed to it. But let me tell you, I think those margins are only going to grow in
Mm-hmm.
favor of abolishing ICE the more reckless they are.
But I mean, just
Um,
going by the numbers you just said, that means that 89% of people total don't want ICE to be a thing.
exactly. And we have to remember too, brother, because I've learned a lot this week from my friends and just my hub that ice is a very recent invention. Like people lived decades. Well, at least if we're talking recent America, right? Without ice. Ice was a Bush invention. And in fact, and this is where, see, again, I don't want to get on my high horse. I don't want to be the jackass. But you know what? I think another thing, besides me no longer being a doomer and being depressive, because I've given enough time to depression for this. Now is the time to act however you can. And I'm going to get more into that later. I also need to just be unapologetically me and not hem and haw and just say what I'm thinking. And if I'm going to be called in, call me in. I'm not afraid of it. Foster, you've been really
Uh,
to political level.
okay.
I welcome it.
John, I need you to just repeat what you just said because you did cut out there to Foster.
Okay. Okay, yeah. So yeah, no, I was just saying, like, politically, another thing I need to do besides feeding the doomerism, which I know I've been guilty of at times, is just to speak my mind and just to really say what I'm thinking and not hem and haw and whatever. And if people want to call me in, call me in. Foster's done a great job of that on the wrestling side. Like, oh, John, didn't you say this about this performer or this storyline? And now you're saying this. I love that. I love that because I should be held to account for what I say, as everyone should. But all of that being said, this is what I need liberals to understand. And this is why I get mad with a lot of liberals, especially liberal, Obama era liberals, because he's almost like their patron saint. Any criticism, you might as well be siding with the fascists in their mind. Obama's the reason ICE was able to stand on two legs again. It was a fledgling agency when he got there. And in fact, in his second term, I found an article from 2013, the Obama administration gave ICE $18 billion. We have to remember, during the end of Biden's presidency, he expanded private prison contracts, and he was working with the very organizations that are terrorizing communities now. I am telling you, even the Dems that you feel like you're cool with, you know, take the wins from them that you can. Mamdani has already done great with universal child care in New York City, stuff like that. Take those wins, but you know what? Also protect those wins from your community, because the next people that come along may be like, oh, well, this is really hurting the billionaires. We got to get rid of this. No, there are, one of my favorite philosophers says there are no rights of man. There's only jurisprudence. There is only law. He who dictates the law dictates the world. So the community has to make its own law and defend it with its own self. Because these people, I mean, how long have Democrats had to codify Roe v. Wade? They didn't do it, or do this, or do that. This learned helplessness to me is very insidious, and it goes to show that it falls back on us. Obama has the audacity to come out and speak to people and be like, well, you got to vote. You got to organize. Motherfucker, droves of people voted for you. And you didn't do universal health care. You took a Heritage Foundation plan and you made it slightly more liberal because Heritage Foundation is fucking unhinged. You didn't close Guantanamo. You were the deporter in chief. Oh, but it's okay, right? Because they were illegal. Like, again, false dichotomy, scratch a liberal, a fascist bleeds. And you did all this shit, and then you have the audacity to be like, you just got to vote harder. For who? For who? Because we're not being represented. Universal health care across the board. Democrats and a lot of the Republican voting base is like, you know what? That sounds like a pretty great idea. Because, I mean, this medical debt is bankrupting the fuck out of me. Still hasn't happened. Higher minimum wage. Still hasn't happened. Abolishing ICE. Probably won't happen. Divesting from Israel. Oh, we can't, because if Israel didn't exist, we'd have to indent it. I am telling you, take the wins from Democrats when you can, but always keep them at a distance and know that it begins at the super local level, which friends have been telling me for years. And really, I've just come to fully embrace it now because they're right. It begins at the super local level, and it begins with community solidarity, which brings me to why I'm not going to feed into the doomerism, because Minnesotans are fighting back against ICE. They are forming patrols watching out for ICE. They are doing mutual aid, taking care of kids that can't go to school because ICE has been terrorizing them and this and that. They're taking care of each other, which I want to say again, because I haven't felt this way since COVID, alternate futures are possible. That's the thing. In COVID, when everybody was working from home and kind of take care of each other in that way, I know we also had other stories of assholes like hoarding hand sanitizer, but that's only part of the story. You also had stories of people taking care of each other feeling more relaxed because, man, I'm working from home, this and that. It shows that so much of what capitalism erects is not immutable. It is contingent like anything else humankind builds, for better or worse. And so what we're seeing from Minnesota, and I'm hearing that on, is it the 20th or the 23rd? I want to say the 20th. Let me actually, I feel like I posted this in politics. Let me real quick, guys, because this could be of monumental interest. Let me just really post this. Okay, so a mass strike in Minnesota was scheduled for the 23rd. That I think is huge because if they commit to that mass strike and it gets enough volume, it could be a domino effect because we already know the economy is being held by fucking bobby pins and AI, right? People are taking loans out on groceries. I've already talked about healthcare. People are already seeing their premium skyrocket. Other people are seeing their energy bills go up because of AI data centers. The economy is not and has not for the longest time worked for us. There is a precarity there. You also have people that are hating ICE. I'm seeing more militant language come out. The time for peace is over. I'm bringing guns to the next protest because they see that these people, again, just cracking skulls, shooting people. Renee Good got shot 3 times in the face again in 2025. They were doing killings then that didn't get the visibility that Renee Nicole Good got. And I feel like every murder should get visibility because this is a Gestapo. This is what Nazis do. And like one great TikTok that just Alex, to his credit, shared with me, they're slave catchers. This is the slavery logic. A Super Blue posted a great YouTube short where it's like, well, now you got to have your freedom papers to show that, you're a free citizen. It's the logic of white supremacy. It's the logic of slavery. It's the logic of Gestapo because it all coalesces. It's all part of the same project for whiteness as a political force. So to see Minnesotans fight back against it, to see the extensive documentation and now slowly intervention. You're not going to take this person. I saw one community in Minnesota protect their neighbor from being put in an ICE van, and then ICE just drove off without their target. you know, and again, I understand it's so easy for me to say all this from the comfort of my own home in a very remote rural area. But there is going to be risk if we want democracy at the end. There is going to be risk if we want the fascism to be uprooted and to die. And to see Minnesotans take this risk, we should all learn to take our own risk, even if it's just a risk in speech, even if it's just a risk of saying, down with fascists, or fascists should get the wall, or whatever you want to say about it, or I think billionaires are evil, or we can do better than capitalism, because all these things would get us labeled as domestic terrorists. But if that's the case, go out swinging. And to see Minnesotans do that on a very real concrete level, I think is beautiful. And I honestly think this mass strike could be a domino. I'm hoping it is. I'm not saying definitively it will be, but I'm somewhat optimistic, to be truthful with you, because I feel like a lot of things are brewing that are coalescing at the right time. And in that spirit, let's keep talking about it. We have Trump still very much afflicted with Alzheimer's, still very much in decline. A lot of people are speculating, could he even resign in this term? But other people rightly pointed out he's too much of a narcissist to give up anything. Other people have gone back to his musings on death and have wondered if he's not trying to expand his empire, with Greenland, because that's the next big thing. So many European countries are doing emergency drills. I think France is doing emergency drills or whatever, in an effort to potentially have to protect Greenland. We could see military bases completely removed from the European continent, which would change drastically our influence on the region. And again, what we're seeing too, I don't even think I've really given enough lip to Europe, because I've been paying attention to China and all this other stuff. Europe is investing more in its military, because once Pete Hegseth, early last year, when Trump got sworn in his presidency started, he said that the United States can no longer be trusted to be the guarantor of security in Europe. So then Europe, as a
I thought
continent,
that
was
was
like,
JD Vance that said that, honestly, because
no,
that was
that
in one
was
of the leaked
Hegseth.
signal chats.
Yeah, I think Vance agreed with them, but Hegseth also said it at a meeting.
Gotcha.
And probably after 3 bourbons and 2 whiskeys and whatever the fuck else he drinks. And then Europe heard that, and they're like, well, shit. I guess we need to start investing in military, which of course is bad for other reasons, because I don't think any of us that have the influence to do things on the globe are investing enough in climate resilience, which, by the way, quick side note about that. There was a Guardian article published, I want to say last week, maybe 2 weeks ago. I think I meant to mention it on last week's show, but I didn't because everything's been so crazy. The top 0.01% in a matter of 3 days use their carbon budget in 2026. And yet, remember though, you're going to be the ones to get the op-ed of like, could you maybe eat out less? Could you maybe enjoy life a little bit less? And yet, nothing to rein in the absolute filthiest, richest among us, of course. So, yeah, we're divesting from green energy and this and that. We're doing military security. We're doing all of this because, well, the U.S. has said, in no uncertain terms, we have to. Because if we don't, Greenland's going to go. I still have Canadian friends that are terrified about that. I had a Canadian friend. She's a brilliant scholar. Make the great point that Canada needs to divest from the U.S. as much as possible. Any money anywhere going to the U.S. from Canada, take it back. And that's absolutely right. That's what we've been saying about Israel. I mean, they're doing a genocide. And I still hate that all this time later, people are calling it a war. No, no. Children are not fucking soldiers. Okay? Jesus fucking Christ. But anyway, so Canadians are still horrified. And we don't know. I mean, I really think things are going to get fucking crazy on the international. They already have been crazy, but I think it's going to rev up even higher because, and this is something else I didn't mention, fascist won Greenland because I don't know if it goes back to Elon Musk's father or even before that, but there was a plan for the American fascist groups called the Tech Native America, which is pretty much this whole new idea of America that also includes Canada, Greenland, and other parts of Europe. That's, of course, ruled by oligarchs and tech bros and stuff like that. We already know that Bill Gates, Sam Altman, Peter Thiel has always been a big one with Greenland. They are investing in quote unquote investment opportunities in Greenland. They want to control the region. These people believe in nothing but their own money and power. They're not cultured. They don't have any conscience or sentiment about anything other than what, their own vision. And anything that goes beyond it, they could be subsumed by it. They don't give a shit about any of us or anybody that has any sovereignty. They want us all to die. And those that don't die, shut the fuck up and just let it happen. So, and I said that last week and I'll say it again. To get to more international stuff, I already mentioned Greenland, mentioned Canada, but I'm talking like international as in not quite involving the US yet, at least not distinctly. Iranian protests are continuing. They have been over 200 hours without internet access. There was a slight bump of, I think, 0.2% of activity. Either that or maybe just 2% of activity, but that is still abysmal. Nobody's been able to contact their friends or family. They're outside the region. The Islamic State is committing crimes against humanity. The last statistic I saw, which again is probably updated, 3,248 protesters killed by the Islamic State and 20,000 people arrested. So it is a major crackdown. I want to be careful how we talk about Iran, and that includes me, because some people are saying, oh, all those protesters, they're U.S. agents or they're Mossad agents, because that would be Israel, this and that. No, Iranians have not liked their theocracy for a long time. I think we have a part to play big time in the economic distress in the region because the U.S. has had sanctions on Iran for years. In fact, to the point where there used to be, I don't know if there still is, I'm assuming there still is, but I remember a few years ago, articles came out that Iran had a black market of organ donation. People were selling their kidneys so they could feed their families. That's how bad the U.S. sanctions were. And when COVID hit, Iran got hit with COVID hard. And there was also a black market for medical supplies during COVID. So we also, as a government, the U.S. as an empire, has blood on its hands again because the sanctions have just crippled Iran economically. They're dealing with inflation. The currency is beyond the toilet. And so that's one big thing. I've already mentioned that the more mountainous regions are dealing with the water crisis. So there are a lot of genuine crises for the Iranian people. To flatten them politically as mere agents of the U.S. or whatever, or Iran as a country, as an anti-imperialist force. No, just like you and I, dear listener, whoever's listening to this, they have their own thoughts, feelings, ambitions, struggles, everything. These are flesh and blood people taking to the streets trying to make a democracy happen. There, again, I've mentioned there is a monarchist faction, which I think the billionaires would love to see win out. There is also the possibility the Islamic regime just stays in power. And I'm, of course, rooting for the Democratic faction. against all odds. Against all odds, you always root for the best fucking option and try and make it so however you can. There's another Iranian woman I'm now following. Her name's Ariana Jasmine. I'm going to recommend her Facebook. She has done great content on the Iranian protests, including calling people out that bring the Israeli flag to these protests because, a lot of Iranians, might be a shocker to some, aren't fucking down with genocide. And we have to remember that Iran, which used to be called Persia, is one of the oldest civilizations, human civilizations in the world. It's like 3 to 4,000 years old. They still have their original language. They're one of the few Middle Eastern countries, and again, Jasmine taught me this, shout out again to her, that still speak their original language of Farsi. They don't speak Arabic, they speak Farsi. Iran is a rich civilization. I've done cursory readings on the history. And I mean, yeah, I've read some of the poetry of Persian women poets. It's beautiful. It's revelry and it's wine and it's joy and it's sensuous, and not the kind of Iran that you would probably think of in your mind today from Western propaganda, which it sees it as kind of Orientalist, like, oh, they're all radicals and they're all wearing turbans, whatever. No, I mean, Tehran is a very industrialized capital, very modern capital. And yes, there are theocratic elements, but there are secular people in the region, just like here, just like there are Christian fundamentalists here. There are also secularists here. No, Iran is a full-blooded nation with a rich fucking history civilizationally. And yeah, that's why I think Israel, which is just a baby kind of nation, has only been around for like 100 years or so. It's like, oh, we got to take them out. Iran is a huge threat to like Netanyahu's interests in the Middle East. And that's why they would love to see this regime toppled and to do regime change the classic way. And of course, oil reserves and everything else. As Ariana again pointed out, and I watched this before the show went on the air, Iran could have been a superpower without all the meddling and interference. I mean, the natural resources they have, 80% of their people have PhDs or master's degrees. They also have one of the youngest populations, like 90 million Iranians, I think, are Gen Z. They have every pillar to be a fucking superpower, but because of economic sanctions and because of the theocracy that is the U.S.'s fault, because you toppled the democracy in 1953 and reinstituted the monarchy, and then the revolution happened in 79 that overthrew the monarchy, but revolution wasn't great for the people en masse because that was the theocracy. So, great job there, US, again. They're going through that. So I just want everybody, I would fucking hope so, Super Blue. I would fucking hope so. I just want everybody to really, if you at all have even an inkling of interest in international politics like I have, to really keep an eye on Iran, because I really do think it's the biggest democratic movement going on the globe right now. I mean, it is massive. And again, for an internet blackout over 200 hours is insane. I mean, I've been without internet for a few days because of snowstorms and shit. And I was always worried, like, oh, are people going to worry about me or whatever? Because so many of us are so plugged in. Imagine a society like ours where the internet is so vital to the point where I am of the opinion that the internet is a human right, that you go without an entire nation for 200 hours. So, yeah, again, solidarity with the Iranian people. Follow Iranians, on any social media that you have. There are political commentators in the region. They're on the ground reporting what's going on there. That would be my recommendation. I'm following, I think, like 2 people now, kind of actively. So I'm doing the best I can in covering that. But yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. And I think that's going to be, I mean, Venezuela, things are still happening. I saw that the vice president, I don't know if the Guardian ran this article, she actually met with the CIA. And that makes me really kind of question, like, what is going on over there? Because there were kind of murmurs like, oh, did Maduro make a deal or whatever? Because the operation seemed almost too clean. 100 people were killed in Venezuela from that abduction operation. But it just seemed too swift, to whatever, not much resistance. And people wondered, did Maduro make a deal or whatever? I don't really know what to think anymore, because the vice president meeting with, our security agency, that's some wild stuff to me. I don't know if they're just playing ball because they really do fear US aggression or what. But yeah, it's wild on the international stage, guys. It's really wild. And I know we got enough problems domestically, believe me. I understand that. And also, again, to call out Dems one final time to circle back to Minnesota, uh, don't talk shit unless you're ready to do shit. Because Tim Walz, again, the people of Minnesota, I couldn't be more proud. Direct action gets the goods. We're seeing mutual aid. We're seeing that working. I already talked all about that earlier. I don't need to rehash it. But Tim Walz has been a major fucking disappointment to me. Where is the National Guard protecting the people? Except that they're not protecting the people, they're policing the protesters. And then Jacob Frey, the mayor of Minnesota, who had that great soundbite of "get the fuck out of my city." When he's pressed, "Oh, are you going to have them arrested?" He's like, "Oh, legally we can arrest them, but logistically, they have more people and bigger guns." So you're not even going to try? You're not even going to attempt to rein this barbarism in, this white supremacist violence in your community in. You're going to leave it on the people. And then when the people are actually making headway, you're going to police them with cops or maybe even National Guard and just do that. You're fucking worthless. You're worthless at best. I don't even want to say what I think of you at worst. Disgusting. So it always comes down to us, guys. Always comes down to us. Solidarity with us. And you know what? I'm not giving up on us. I'm not giving up on us. I have seen human beings do incredible, beautiful things. And if you're thinking that what you're doing isn't connected to the struggle, if you're already volunteering, believe me, it is. It is, because capitalism and these billionaires want to make life as awful as possible. And if you're somebody that has this sense of helplessness that you feel strangled by, and you're like, what do I do? I promise you, if you keep trying, if you keep searching, you will find it. I'm in my own process of looking for what I can do. I emailed a certain organization that deals with prisoners and like getting books and information to prisoners. They haven't gotten back to me yet. I want to do some volunteering there. I gave some money to a prison library support network stationed in New York, which is dedicated to kind of building research archives and whatever for prisoner use, so that if they needed to, study something for like a hearing or whatever, they'd have it. And also just book pipelines. There are prisons or books to prison programs that have Amazon wish lists that you can buy books that they need. So they could list, say, like a legal manual, and they could say, oh, we need 40 of these, but we only have 10. If you're able to buy 3, you buy 3, and you've gotten 3 more prisoners' legal manuals, or you've gotten 3 more manuals for a prison library. There's always things to do, because even if you think it's not connected, it is. So if you're at a homeless shelter and you're thinking, well, how does that stop ICE agents? You think the homeless are immune from ICE terror? If you're feeding people and you're thinking, how does this help against struggle right now? Keep in mind, this regime withheld SNAP benefits. I promise you, you're doing okay. I promise you, if you're doing something, that is beautiful, and I am proud of you, and keep doing it, because we need you here. The moment you think that you're worthless or expendable, you're playing right into the fascist logic, albeit in a different way than liberals, because I said a similar thing about liberals. For liberals, I think it's more insidious, because you don't want to abolish ICE, you want to control it. And you want to do the fascism with decorum and civility, so you can go fuck yourself. People that feel like they're like, I'm not doing enough, I'm not meeting the moment. Believe me, you probably are. Even if it's just being a good person to somebody else that might be spiraling. And I am so lucky to have the friends that surround me, because I have had my depressive moments here. I've had my moments of sheer terror, like, oh my God, this regime's going to kill me. And it might. Again, I do not know the future. I don't. But whether it does or not, honestly, I'm ready for action. I'm ready to just say, and I want action to be taken of like just resisting. People have also been teaching me very patiently that nonviolence doesn't mean just compliance, right? You can be disruptive while being nonviolent, and I am seeing that. Do I think revolutionary violence is inevitable? As an anarchist slash Marxist, yeah, I'm always going to believe that. I think that's one of my core beliefs, unfortunately or fortunately, depending on how you look at it. But people are really showing me just the breadth of praxis that is possible. So if you think you're not doing enough, I promise you, you are. And if you're really not, if you're still scared, if you're still going through it, I get it. I get it. I was paralyzed by terror for fucking months, thinking like, God, what do I do? Like, this is horrifying. Like, what? It was so overwhelming, because they want you to be overwhelmed, flooding the zone. We talked about that, right? If they bombard you with 30 news stories and you only pick out one, you're going to be conscientious even about the one you picked out, because, oh, did I pick the right one? Oh, but there are these other 29. Do what you can when you can, even if it's just being a support for your friends or your family, or getting other people involved, or getting them to read things. God knows, God knows. And I'm not trying to get on my elitist high horse, but more people could read. We do have an illiteracy crisis, which is a breeding ground for fascism. Fascism breeds in ignorance. Fascism breeds in miseducation, in deliberate misinformation. Even if you're educating, you are doing praxis, and I am so proud of you. So if you're hearing this, if anybody's hearing this, be gentle with yourself. Give yourself what you need and do what you can, even if it's being a good neighbor to the person next to you. Because I'm telling you, we're seeing that in Minnesota. We're seeing that in other parts of the country. And I feel like something, and I never say this because I've always been the one to say, oh, the US doesn't have any revolutionary conscience. Oh, this and that. But the people, the fucking people, I think something is happening here. I don't know if it's just going to be a flicker of time or something sustained. My cynicism says the former, my burgeoning optimism says the latter. And so, I'm kind of in between. We'll see what happens. But they're acting. Even if it fails, even if it's futility down the road, they tried. They did something. They can say, I stood up to it. So, however you're standing up to it, thank you. Thank you. And if you haven't yet or you're still finding your way, I promise you, you will. Because your heart and your mind is in the right place. And when those things are in the right place, the rest is inevitable. So let's keep doing it together, y'all. Because that's the only way we win this is together. And that's politics. So let us move on. Actually, no, I shouldn't do that. Is there anything you wanted to say, sir, before I end this segment?
No.
Nope. Okay. Let us move on to pop culture. And honestly, bro, okay. So I'm going to take the lead on this too. And then I'm just going to let you talk because I need to tell this one story. Because I did say it was going to be more of a fun episode and lighter anyway. I wanted to open the show with this just because it broke me in the most hilarious way. So, context, you guys know, because I mentioned this last week, that Ashton, because he's such a beautiful human being and a wonderful friend to me and has been since the day I first met him, got me a handheld and pretty much got me back into gaming. I really don't care for gaming in the modern sense. I prefer to read and to study, whatever. Well, he got me back into gaming in a major way because he got me a handheld with an extensive gaming library. I play PlayStation 2 games on a handheld that looks like a retro outfitted like Game Boy Color or some shit. The future's fucking amazing. I'm telling you. So I've been playing a lot of PS2 games. One of the PS2 games I've been playing is SmackDown versus Raw 2006. Now, I had said last week that I tried to do season mode as Randy Orton because I love like 2004 to like 2006 Randy Orton. Even when he was like, oh, Eddie Guerrero's down there and out. Like, honestly, as an older person, I'm sure he hated doing it. Great heel work. And that fucking smug, he was great. I really do think that's still one of his best eras, even all these years later. So I'm playing season mode as him. And yet, just like real life, seemingly, at that time, I just can't beat Triple H. I just cannot fucking beat Triple H. So I had mentioned that I had gone through this one storyline where I was interacting with Triple H heavily, couldn't beat him. So let me give you an update on how that's going. Um, so I finish one season mode. I win the Royal Rumble, right? I granted it took me like two, maybe three. No, it was three tries. But you had to win the Royal Rumble. You had to. There was no other story beyond at a certain point just winning the Rumble. So the game would just restart for me from that point. It's not like I had to do the whole thing over again. So I win the Royal Rumble. They don't even give me the option to pick the champion. I'm just going after Triple A, and that's fine by me because that's the fight that I wanted. I skip some matches just because I want to get to the next big match. And then I find out because I have audio muted when I play the handheld a lot of the time because it's late at night and my family's sleeping. Sometimes I do plug the headphones in, but I just find it's easier to play with it muted. So I find out, surprise to me, it's a Hell in a Cell match. Me and Triple H, Hell in a Cell, world title. So because I'm fucking brilliant, I'm amazing. I'm thinking, well, this is going to be fucking easy. I just have to go to the top of the cell, which is very easy to do in SmackDown vs. Raw 06. It's not like this whole contrived thing. I climb it. I do a hard Irish whip, send him off the cage, falling to his doom, and then I just pin him. Dear listener, it didn't go that way. Because what happened was I did throw him a couple times, but it wasn't enough to win. And then I also fell a couple times because I didn't watch my footing. And at one point, I fell trying to do a sidewalk slam because I wasn't mindful of the positioning of the maneuver. So I was about to land with him, and gravity was just like, let me help with that, and it took me to my doom. And so then when that happened, Triple H he does a grapple hold where he kicks the inside of my leg 3 times, almost as if to piss on me, and then he pins me. So I still haven't beaten Triple H. But then I boot the game up again. I realized that I hadn't saved at a certain point, so I get a second chance. to do Hell in a Cell. I'm like, okay, I've learned. This is it. This is fucking it, right? We go to the top. We're fighting. I'm actually winning this time. I am so fucking in it. I want to turn my crisp off for this because you guys really need to hear my pain here. I kick him in the midsection. I'm thinking, my God, I'm going to do it. I'm going to beat fucking Triple H as Randy Orton. I go for the RKO. And the thing is, I hit it. He doesn't counter it because a reversal with an RKO in this game, it's like you just stop it. It's no like animation. You just stop it, right? I know that doesn't really make any sense, but it's not like, oh, we went for it, but then I throw him off. No, it's just you turn him around and you kind of smack him. Like you don't have him initiate the grapple, right? So I hit it, kind of, because in the animation of hitting it, much like the sidewalk slam, I didn't watch my positioning, so I'm midway through the RKO when I fall off the cell. Hard. And then Triple H is kind of looking at my broken body from on top of the cell. He climbs down and he pins me 1, 2, 3. Which, wow, right? Just fucking wow. So then I do another season mode. I'm like, okay, I've gotten better at fighting AI on Legend, and that's another important thing. The AI is on Legend difficulty because I don't want to fucking pass. I want to earn the real fucking thing, right? I'm good enough to do it. I do the season mode again. So again, the first storyline, you're mixed with Triple H a lot, right? And we're doing this big back and forth thing. I'm countering. I'm dominating early. I'm like, oh my God. Yes, it's happening. We go back and forth. I kick out of a pedigree. I never, as Randy Orton, I have gotten beaten by pedigrees when my head is only in the yellow damage, which is like the very basic damage. I have been pinned even at that. And I kicked out. I'm like, oh my God, to use the Randy Orton term that he used to say a lot of the time, it's destiny, right? And then Del Rio would steal it later, but he sucks, so who gives a shit? It's destiny. It's finally, destiny is favoring me. I'm going to beat Triple H. I kick out of a pedigree. We go back and forth. I hit a rope hung DDT. He looks all splayed out. I'm like, oh my God, I could pin him. He uses one of his stored finishers to catch me in a sneaky pin. I still kick out of that. I'm like, oh my God, it's going to happen. He knees me in the face, busts me open, and with the Harley Race knee, he pins me 1, 2, 3. So all of this to say, dear reader, I still have not beaten Triple H. And it's starting to give me a complex a little bit. But hopefully next week, on the next edition of Can I Beat SmackDown vs. Raw 2006 Triple H as Randy Orton, I can just say yes and end the fucking segment. But I had to update you on my saga because that shit is fucking ridiculous. Other games I played, I've been playing more ABC Monday Night Football. And Ashton, as a football fan, you'll be happy to know that there are two things that I love doing in ABC Monday Night Football that you have given the joy back in my life of doing. Do you want to know what that is? It is...
Tell me, please.
It is abusing passing plays because I love racking up rushing yards. And it's going for it on 4th down because I'm no bitch. Oh, just punt. What? And give up on the yardage? And there are times that I've converted. My best work is getting a 1st down on 3rd and 29 because I got sacked in the prior play. So at times it works for me. But I have known the pain of interceptions, and I have known the pain of incomplete passes. And I lost a game last night. I'm doing a new season mode with Atlanta. And yeah, I faced Detroit, and I lost the game 21-24.
Oh,
that stung. Yeah. So that's essentially it for me from games and my complex. And so, yeah, it is burned in my brain, that RKO that carried me off the cell. When that happened to me, I was like, fuck, man. Like, it just breaks you as a person. So that's essentially it for me. My family and I were still watching, Life After Lockup and those kinds of reality shows and stuff like that. And we've watched a lot of stuff, but I'm going to let you kind of detail I will just say most recently, because it is fresh in my mind, we watched My Cousin Vinny and Coming to America last night. Both great comedies, but definitely slightly more partial to My Cousin Vinny. That was fantastic. Um, and so yeah, that's just me. Just really, I guess the pop culture segment for me, more or less, is going to be how much I fucking love my handheld, for the next little bit, because I have been getting a lot of enjoyment out of it. So thank you again, and yeah, thanks for the complex too. Because I needed another one. My other ones were getting lonely, so that was great. And yeah, that's essentially it for me. So now, after what feels like a fortnight and a half, I will let you speak, sir. What do you got on the pop culture side for all of us?
Well, I did play some Minecraft this week. I don't play vanilla Minecraft very often. When I do, it is in our server's Minecraft realm with Gala, and haven't seen many other people on the server recently. Actually, I know that Mark sometimes hops on to mine, and that's about it. Abel hasn't been on in forever, and Curtis and Javaris were both on very briefly at one point. I think Dom was on briefly at one point. None of them have been on in a long time. But what I played more recently was a modded version of Minecraft, which basically you start on a tiny island of dirt with a chest that has a few little things in it that are vital to expanding upon your world to make it more than just a little pile of dirt. And then, like, growing trees on the dirt and punching them for wood and using the wood to expand your island and that kind of stuff. And eventually I'm going to be able to do all kinds of crazy shit. But right now I am still working my way towards being able to forge metal. Currently at a point where I am attempting to find, or not find, but I guess craft materials to make um, basically a forge. You make it out of bricks that you make from an item called grout, which you get by combining clay, sand, and gravel together, and then cooking it in a furnace. And eventually, I'll be able to get that, and then I'll have to look for a bunch of ores by just sifting through gravel like crazy. And then eventually, I'll be able to make myself some automation. I'll be able to automate some things, but I'm a long way off from that right now in the gameplay save that I have. That's about it as far as video games for the week. It's been kind of a chill week because I've honestly spent pretty much all day, every day of the time that I am inside the house on my MacBook. I am obsessed with it because being able to do things on a computer that might be even a little bit intensive, that and then you don't have to hear a fan spin up, is a life-changing experience for me. Um, it's honestly incredible. This is an experience that I kind of have been seeking out for at least like 5 or so years now. Because like when I bought my laptop in 2021, the one that I still use today, that I'm actually using right now to stream because I am not sure how to get Streamlabs to work on a Mac. Um, I bought a very top of the line laptop, and the reason I did that was because in my mind, well, it's like hitting a nail with a sledgehammer. It's like, well, hey, if I get this super overpowered laptop, but I don't use it to its full potential, then why would it get so hot that the fans would need to spin up? Um, that was horrible logic, and it doesn't work that way. Turns out, if you do anything on a computer, it is going to try and do it as fast as it possibly can, and in doing so, it can still stress it out enough to crank the fans up. But on a MacBook, there are no fans to spin. So I just do my stuff, and sometimes the laptop gets warm, but it's designed to dissipate heat, and that's fine. I'm okay with having a warm laptop if it's quiet. But right now, like even just touching the keyboard deck of the laptop that I am currently live streaming this on is hot enough that if I would leave my fingers on it for long enough, I would get first-degree burns. For real. It's that bad. And that's with the fans spinning constantly. So it is like I said, it's a life changing experience to now have a laptop with literally no moving parts at all. The only quote unquote moving parts on my entire laptop are the lid, the thing that opens when you put the screen on, the keys of the keyboard, and ever so slightly the trackpad has just a little tiny little bit of movement when you touch it, and that's it. Like the actual inside of the laptop, no moving parts whatsoever. Everything is just solid. It's got a solid state drive, an SSD that's half a terabyte. It's not a ton, but it's enough for what I use it for. No fans, really big battery. I have to charge it maybe twice a day because I do leave the brightness on full 24, well, whenever I'm on it, which does, burn through the battery a little bit quicker than Apple will advertise because they typically use very controlled circumstances for their testing. But man, I can't complain one bit. It's super light. For the first time in 5 years, I'm able to take a laptop into the bathroom with me when I go there to do my business. I used to do that all the time. Like when I lived in my nan's basement, I had my computer sitting on a table, and when I had to go to the bathroom and I knew it was going to be a little bit of time while I was in there, I took the whole fucking table in there with me. And I just had my computer on the table sitting right in front of me while I'm sitting on the toilet. Now I don't have a table to bring in there with me. That's not going to happen anytime soon. But I'm still able to, like, if I'm watching a video on my laptop, on my MacBook, I can just bring it in there with me, set it on the sink counter, make sure it's balanced so it doesn't fall in, and, go about my business that way. It is unbelievable. It is life changing. Um, Most people aren't bothered by laptop fan noise as much as I am, so it's not something that I'm going to be like, oh, hey, everyone else should experience this because not everyone else gives a fuck about just silence. But I am somebody who is extremely sensitive to noise. Yet another trait that I think leads to the conclusion that I probably am also autistic and not just ADHD. But like little tiny noises set me off, and not in a way that like I'm gonna actually do anything, but just internally, it makes me scream and makes me go, lose my mind internally. Um, so that's been a big thing. Is just being able to, and also the Minecraft experience I was mentioning earlier. That was on the MacBook. The MacBook runs Minecraft better than my laptop, which has its GPU disabled, and that's why. But even given that my laptop was like the best possible processor that you could get in 2021, and the laptop that I just got, the MacBook that I just got, is only like 3 years older than that, and it runs Minecraft faster is unbelievable to me. And this is modded Minecraft too, and I feel like it even opens modded Minecraft faster than my Lenovo laptop. It's just incredible, honestly. I'm bragging a lot because I'm excited, but I still have to pay it off. I've paid off about a third of it so far. It was expensive. Um, and I'm honestly thinking about just straight up selling this Lenovo laptop, using the money that I get for it to just pay off my MacBook, and then just buying a Steam machine when that comes out in like February or March. Because this laptop is just a miserable experience for me, but somebody else would absolutely be able to take advantage of it and use it, and they wouldn't be bothered by the fan noise. That's something that I've learned over the last 5 years or so, is that not everybody gives a shit about fan noise. A lot of people are more than happy to just plug some headphones in, listen to whatever they're doing on their computer, and drown out the sound of the fan noise. Whatever. Um, as far as what we've done, bro, we finished Mythic Quest, and that was very interesting. Um,
Yes.
I think you said your exact quote was that you think that Mythic Quest was better than AP Bio because AP Bio really fell off after season two, and Mythic Quest was strong for all four seasons. So that's
Yes.
fair. We also got through the first 10 episodes of Game Changer season four. We had only watched the first two last time we were live, so we went through 3 to 10, and the last couple were a really fun survivor spinoff with the Game Changer cast that I really enjoyed.
Yeah, that was great. That was
Yeah,
great.
I'm really looking forward to them doing other sort of spin-offs of other like, famous reality and game shows and stuff. We did watch the newest episode of St. Dennis Medical. That was fun. And something that not we, but I personally did with my mom this past Sunday. I did watch two movies with my mom this past Sunday. Um, One of them was called Rise of the Guardians. That was a really interesting one. Um, it was actually a pretty cool little like adventure movie, starring sort of like the I don't want to say mythical, but kind of like the imaginary creatures that we're all familiar with, like Santa, who went by the name North in the movie, and the Easter Bunny, and the Tooth Fairy, and the Sandman. Like, it was a really, really cute. It's an animated movie. It's animated beautifully, and it's like a decade old. If you compare this movie's animation to some, like, the lower third or so of quality of animated movies coming out these days, it holds up really well for sure. And it's just a cute movie. It's really dark. I had a hard time really like understanding who the movie was for, but apparently it's for my mom because she fucking loved that movie. And it's like it's dark in a way that like you wouldn't want young kids to watch it, and also like the subject matter means that teenagers are probably not going to be interested in it because it would be uncool, and that's all teenagers care about. But I guess that like whimsical adults are the target audience, which I guess that kind of applies to all of us here, honestly. So that's probably a movie that I would recommend to just about everyone watching this, and probably even you, John. Also, rewatched The Road to El Dorado with my mom. I fucking love that movie. That is absolutely one
Nice.
of the most underrated animated films I genuinely believe of all time. It is so good. Um, that was fun. And as far as just today, I watched the two NFL divisional games that aired on today, which is Saturday. And the first one, I predicted that the Buffalo Bills would win, but I was rooting for the Broncos. But by the end of the game, I was actually upset that the Bills lost because of how badly they got fucked over by the referees. There was a play, I believe, in the fourth quarter where the quarterback for the Bills threw a deep pass and it went incomplete. But if you just watch it for 2 seconds, the defender was hanging all over the receiver that it was intended for, and it should have been called for defensive pass interference, which would have placed the ball on the 1 yard line, and the Bills almost definitely would have scored a touchdown out of that. In overtime, the exact same play happened the other way around, and it got called. And it fucked over the Bills so badly because the Broncos were already in field goal range when the penalty happened, thanks to another even more bullshit defensive pass interference penalty that got called another play prior to that. But then, yeah, they just put the ball on the 5 yard line, and the Broncos didn't even have to run a play. They just kicked the field goal and won the game because it was already in sudden death. So, like, that's all they needed was the field goal to win the game. It was hardcore bullshit. But the night game tonight, the primetime game between the 49ers and Seahawks, wasn't ambiguous at all. There was nothing that the referees could have really done that wouldn't have been suspicious to the point of warranting an investigation to help the 49ers win that game. They got blown the fuck out 41-6 by the Seahawks. Uh, Given that the Seahawks scored 13 points exactly in both of the other two games that these teams played against each other this season, it is unbelievable that they cranked up the juice for this game the way that they did. They did have a bye week, and the 49ers did have to play last week, but still, I never would expect for one singular week off to give a team that much juice to go from 13 to 41.
Damn.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Um, there have been teasers getting put out by XG for a new song. Their album, bro, their first ever full length album drops Friday.
Oh my God. That's huge. Yeah, all
Yes.
right.
And they
God
have been
damn.
posting teasers on their YouTube channel for a new song coming out called Hypnotized. I'm very excited about
Ooh.
it. Every time I listen to one of these little teasers, the little tiny bit of the song that they play in the teaser gets stuck in my head for most of the day. And that happened to me today, and I only just got it out of my head within the last couple hours. So it's going to be a catchy one. It's going to be a bop. I'm looking forward to it. I'm stoked about the album coming on Friday. Cannot wait to listen to all the new music. Unfortunately, we've already heard a few of the new songs that they're going to be putting out, but there should still be like 6 or so fully new tracks on the album.
That's what I always like because I know with artists I like, they'll release stuff that was already gonna be on the album, like, on social media or whatever, like, early. Um, but I always like when it's the new stuff that you really had to wait for the album for. Those are always the songs I'm excited to get to, so that's really
Yeah.
cool.
So it's a 10-track album, and the last two tracks on it are Four Seasons and PS 118. And we've heard both of those. And the second track on it is Gala, which we know. And the first track is just an intro. So tracks 3 through 8 are the new ones, and one of those, track 6 specifically, is this new Hypnotize song that they're kind of putting out there with these teasers now. So we're getting 6 new tracks. I'm stoked. One of them I already know I'm gonna like based on the little teasers they've been showing. So I cannot wait to hear this new music from XG. And as far as music goes, that really is all that I have done this week. I haven't really listened to a lot of music this week, and that's probably going to stay true this coming week just because it's really fucking cold outside, and I haven't really been going out at all. I mean, my mom and I have gone out, I think, twice this entire week, and we were only out for like 2 hours each of those times. And we're really just trying to get out and back in so that we can stay in the warmth. And I am supposed to get a fuck ton of snow, not this weekend that we're experiencing right now, but the following weekend. Next weekend, it is supposed to snow like a motherfucker. Um, and we're even supposed to get some snow tonight. We're supposed to get like an inch of snow between 4 a.m. and 10 a.m. today. Uh, and then it's supposed to be really fucking cold for the next several days. It's the high on Wednesday is 37. That is like reprieve for what we've been experiencing lately and what we're going to get for the rest of the month. Thursday high is 36. That is another really nice day for us right now. Then Friday, 34. Saturday, snow out the ass. We are talking probably 2 inches Saturday alone, and then another 3 inches Sunday morning. So we're probably going to get around 4 or 5 inches of snow next weekend. That's going to suck. And then the high on the Monday after the snowstorm is 18 degrees with a feels like wind chill of -6. So I'm enjoying the moderately cold weather that we have right now because it's going to get so much worse next week.
Brother, solidarity over here in New Hampshire. My sister and my brother-in-law, God bless them, they were shoveling the driveway, and they carried a lot of wood in. And yet my sister saw that it was still snowing so many hours later, and she's like, "Oh my God, we might actually get the 6 inches they originally called for." So yeah, it's been snowing like crazy here too. I don't know if it still is. It would be too dark for me to tell. But yeah, we've been dealing with snow and cold temperatures. I've seen some lows next week are going to be 3 degrees, which sucks.
Yeah.
But we're just getting through it. We're just getting through it. I can't wait for spring. I say it every fucking year, but I really feel like this is a year that I'd make good on it. I want to do a lot more outdoor reading. I definitely want to do a lot more just tranquil kind of walking, not even necessarily like brisk hiking or whatever, but just being outside. Because then summer comes and I want to be inside again because it's muggy and it's fucking miserable, and mosquitoes because we have a lot of still
Dude,
water.
I was just telling my mom the other day, I hate both winter and summer, but at least in the winter there are no fucking bugs.
Yeah, dude, yes. 100% yes.
I like to
No,
me, ideal weather is anything between like 50 and 80. And maybe I'll even go up to
yeah.
85. Anything between 50 and 85, I'm totally cool with. But it feels like we only get those exact temperatures for like 100 days out of the year total combined.
Yeah, I just want to answer Bestie real quick. No, Bestie, we got plenty of blankets in house. My electric blanket's still been serving me well, and so far in the cold, I really haven't been as cold lately. Just because
I have a
just getting
question for
thirsty.
you. Is your electric blanket dependent on being plugged into the wall, or is it a battery powered thing?
It's wall based,
Okay,
but
but you have a generator that you can use for it, right?
I believe so.
Okay.
I think
I
we're
would
good.
hate to see something happen where like you lose power and then it's 3 degrees outside and you can't use your electric blanket because it's dependent on electricity.
But you know what though, even if we don't, even if I'm misinformed about that, like, bro, my comforter is already so heavy, and I layer up on blankets. I already sleep with like an electric blanket, like a throw blanket on top of that, and then my comforter. I am toasty at night when I sleep. That's the good thing, is I'm still getting my hours. At least the hours I choose to have, because I've been doing a lot of reading lately. Your boy's been hitting the books, y'all. But
Yeah,
yeah,
dude, I looked on Facebook today at like 7:30 p.m. and it said you were active 7 hours ago. I was like, he was up past noon. What the fuck?
Yeah, that was mainly because I did also get a shower in and everything, which I felt so good. I still need to shave because this mustache has become unruly. But yeah, I've been putting in the work here. Well, yeah, I think we're kind of getting a groove in winter. I'm still keeping the kitchen clean, so the house is doing well. It's just, yeah, the temperatures are unrelenting. And so yeah, I think that's essentially it for our more fun pop culture slash like life kind of segment. So I think we can get into Q&A if you're ready for it. Because I know Abel asked a question, and then it was a lot of Super Blue, and then some Foster mixed in there. So
First question from Super Blue.
I know the first question was from Abel because he asked something on the 14th, and I think he meant it as a real
Oh
question.
shit! Did I miss that?
You weren't even typing a reply to it on the 15th, and then you realized it was in the Q&A channel.
Oh my God! Yes, thank you. Oh yeah, I'm so used to Super Blue's questions always being the first questions that I totally blanked on our precious Abel asking questions.
I even want you to kind of take the lead on this because you're so much better at this kind of shit than me. Because he's essentially asking, like, how do I explain communism to somebody? And I'm
Yeah,
way too steeped in like academic shit to do
right.
it in like a common way.
Okay, so
So
to
yeah,
read it out loud, Abel's question was, I told my girlfriend I was a communist, and I'm afraid she now thinks I'm Stalin. How do I properly explain communism slash radicalize her? So, in my personal opinion, my experience, it's not going to be a one time thing. You're not going to say some magical thing that's going to make her open her eyes and be like, oh my God, fuck capitalism, communism is correct. What you really should probably do is have her ask you, or not ask you, but explain to you what she thinks that communism is. And depending on what she says, you can take it from there. I mean, if she says something false consciousness like communism is when everybody gets paid the same and they have to work no matter what because they're just going to make the money anyway, and the doctor gets paid as much as the janitor or whatever the fuck, that's really easy to correct because that's just false consciousness. That's bullshit propaganda that's been getting plugged into people's brains since the 1940s. Um, if she thinks that communism is equal to authoritarianism, right now is a great time to be like, we live in capitalism and this is authoritarianism. They are separate things, and authoritarianism, communism is completely different than authoritarianism, capitalism, and they're both bad because authoritarianism is the problem there. So there are a lot of different ways to approach it. If your girlfriend really is like finding this to be a problem, if she really thinks that you identifying as a communist and being anti-capitalist is a problem, I do think that it's a conversation that you need to have and not just something that you can solve by saying one magical thing like, "Oh, communism is when the workers control the means of production." And she's just like, "Whoa, that's so brilliant. Why has no one ever thought of it before? That's amazing. I'm a communist now too." That's just not how it's going to work. I think maybe if you wanted to try and get her on your level with a simple statement, you could just say, I just think that the world would be better if the people making the products were able to reap the benefits of the products that they're making and actually control how those products were made and who they sold them to and at what price, rather than some rich billionaire CEO having all of the control and reaping all of the rewards. That to me is as succinct as I can put why communism is better than capitalism for me.
I would bungle it, so I'm gonna give more of and really I just want to double down on the serious side more. Ashton's answer. My joking answer is just play to her the Soviet national anthem. That shit fucking slaps. If she's not down, I mean, just keep playing until she vibes with it. Because I'm telling you, that shit fucking slaps, man. Look, I understand people's critique of Stalinism, although honestly, I would only say that I'm hoping maybe I'll do it this year, probably not because my reading list is already bursting at the seams. I have gotten books on the Soviet Union from more like left-wing perspectives and from people that I think actually lived in the Soviet Union. Because we also have to understand that American education is crafted to always make America look like the hero. Like even when we acknowledge the injustices, first of all, you don't really get into the true depravity of it, right? Like Columbus gets so sanitized in the education system when he was a rapist and mass murderer. Uh, but you're always going to look at every alternative as just, oh my God, this is the most inhumane thing to ever exist. Now, in the case of Nazism and stuff, that's absolutely true. But when you try and say, like, oh, Cuba did all this, really? Really? Like, I would just bet that a little more personally. So yeah, I'm kind of reassessing a lot with my own communism. Abel. I think I'll still always be an anarchist, but I'm starting to listen more to what, like, Leninists that's derived from Vladimir Lenin, who was a Russian revolutionary, have to say. But yeah, I think Ashton, as far as speaking to the people, and one thing that I would say on a more serious note is, and this is something I'm trying to train myself to do, and I am failing miserably, but that doesn't make, the training any, less necessary. You got to meet people where they're at. Again, we
Yeah,
have to acknowledge
like
that there
honestly,
there is,
you
yeah,
could even tell her to put a name on what you're describing and not call it communism if it makes her feel more comfortable. You can tell
yeah,
her, "Hey, we are both fans of democracy. I'm just such a fan of democracy that I want democracy in the workplace too. What would you call that, girlfriend?" And then she tells you, because obviously she's not going to think that's a bad idea. And then you could just call it that instead of communism whenever you're around her.
even Abel, if you wanted to work up to it, with, like, because again, I think Ashton's just giving great advice, and me, I'm just trying to expound upon it in my own way. Even if you wanted to do that with, like, a constellation of concepts that I feel like are adjacent to communism, for example, like direct democracy. Like, oh, wouldn't it be great if we got to vote on everything? Like, if we got to vote on Supreme Court justices, or even if we go to war as a country. And she'd be like, yeah, well, I'd just be like, that's radical democracy. And then the economic conclusions, I feel like, will inevitably lead to communism, because you already have this kind of, and again, I'm using higher level speaker because it's Q&A, but if you have this kind of scaffolding of this kind of social political infrastructure of, oh, we get to vote on everything from judges to warfare to this and that, the
I mean, dude,
economy.
even just because I know that you are really in the weeds with certain things, even just as simple as like, oh, hey, we get to vote on whether we want to raise the minimum wage, or we get to vote
Yeah,
on whether we get universal health care, or we get to vote on whether college tuition can become free. Those are the types of things that direct democracy would have you voting for, rather than trying to find a politician that, which is like a needle in the haystack, who supports all of the things you agree with, or even most of the things that you want to see happen. You don't have to
yes.
worry about electing representatives if you can just directly vote for the subject that you want change for.
And then I think the game set match for me would be, if you're really enthused about that level of democratization, why not democratize the economy?
Yeah.
Because that's fundamentally how I see communism, right? So instead of saying communism, because democracy is still a favorable word, just say we're democratizing the economy, because that's how
Yeah.
fundamentally I see it,
Yeah.
right?
I
So
think
I agree with,
yeah, it might be like economic democracy might be a good way of putting it, so that it doesn't sound evil and ugly the way that a lot of people have been trained to see socialism and communism in the U.S.
exactly, because again, Abel, and I know you know this because you're my son and you're wonderful and you're just a beautiful person, but I mean, we're dealing with decades of anti-communist propaganda here. And so
Well,
yeah, I would just say,
we're not far
even
away from being a century at this point.
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And so yeah, bringing democracy, or economic democracy. I think, yeah, absolutely is the way to go when you frame it that way, because then if they're against that, it's like, oh, well, then you're against democracy. I thought you wanted to, do this and that, or I thought you even liked the democracy, quote unquote, we have now, which isn't even democracy, but I digress. And yeah, that's where you kind of catch them in the proverbial bear trap. It's like, oh, well, and then yeah, it's like, well, there it is. So I think Ashton gave great advice, and I would just use the phrase again, democratizing the economy, or like Ashton said, uh, economic democracy, and I think that might help. So
Workplace democracy also works.
yeah, and that is a phrase that's been used around. When you think about what Bernie Sanders has done in Vermont and stuff, worker co-ops and everything, yeah, workplace democracy. In fact, a lot of people will tell you that if you are a communist, communism and democracy are so inextricably linked, especially of the anarchist variety in my mind, that you start in the workplace. When you make a union, that in my mind is democratizing the workplace, right? So yeah, yeah, I think some great pointers there from Ashton. Just want to cut in with my own stuff. So now we can move on to our next questions.
All right. Our next set of questions are from Super Blue. First up, why is the WWE not building up the Royal Rumble? Outside of commercials and the WWE title, no one has declared for the Rumble. Well, so this is already bunk, because Cody declared for the Rumble on SmackDown this week.
Yeah, I did hear about that. Yes. Um, isn't the Rumble January 27th?
I don't
Or is it
know. Do you want me
or
to
is
look
it
it
in
up? I'll look it up.
Yeah, just real quick, I guess, while I'm talking. Um,
It is on
yeah,
January 31st.
I was close. I was a little off. So, WWE, we've seen this before with certain pay-per-views. They wait till seemingly the last minute to really build it up, but I'm sure promotional materials are either go up, or maybe they're thinking because this is the Saudi Rumble, maybe they are doing advertising. It's just not like in America. I have to wonder genuinely how many commercials have been running in Saudi Arabia. Like that's the thing. I guess you have to think about it in that context. Maybe they are pouring a lot of advertising, just not here, right?
That's a
Because
great
you want to
point.
sell
That is a great point. Yep.
yeah, you want to sell tickets in Saudi. Yeah, I doubt you're going to sell many tickets unless you're like an affluent U.S. citizen and you do a lot of international travel. I doubt you're going to get a lot of traction there. So you might, perception might not be the whole reality in this case because, yeah, there might be a lot of advertising going on. So I think that's a good enough answer. And then he asked, how do you feel about the results of TNA Genesis? I feel like I could just say I really don't care about TNA at all, but I will indulge you Super Blue, and I have clicked on your link and I am looking at the Genesis card. So what I'm going to do, Ashton, because you work so hard as it is, I'm going to be the one to read off the results, and then you could just tell me, meh, don't care, or whatever. So here we go.
Okay.
AJ Francis defeated Rich Swann.
Not surprising, I think. I mean,
Yeah.
Rich is good, but AJ is a pretty big guy, so those are when it's a big guy who's kind of like a bumbling big guy who's not that great versus a really talented smaller guy. For me, it's a toss up. It could go either way, and I'm not going to be upset either way.
Yeah, match went 12 minutes, 19 seconds, apparently. Ali, the leader of Order 4, and Order 4 was at ringside, he defeated Elijah. That match was 9 minutes, 35
Oh, it's
seconds.
good to know that Elijah is back in action. I know that he was injured at one point. That's cool.
Yeah, it is great to see him. Yeah.
My mom's really
Um,
excited about that.
Eddie Edwards defeated JDC. That match went 17 minutes and 16
Johnny
seconds.
Dango Curtis. I know that one.
There you go. So yeah, Eddie Edwards beat him.
Yeah.
Um,
Honestly, I like Dango, and Eddie Edwards is a fucking dweeb, so can't say I'm a big fan of that one.
Ryan Nemeth defeats Mara Sade, and that match was 5 minutes 21
I'm
seconds.
sorry, what? They are doing intergender singles matches on TNA now?
I guess so. I guess so.
That's a weird one. I didn't know that. Huh.
I didn't know that either. Yeah, I'm looking at her now. Actually, interesting.
Well,
All right.
Mara is formerly Jakara Jackson, bro.
Oh, okay. I thought she looked familiar. I'm like, why can't I place her? That's cool.
Yeah, that's
And
Jakara Jackson, Lash Legend's former tag partner in the Metaphor.
yeah. No. I loved when they were tag team. I really thought they were starting to cook towards the end of Jakara's run. I thought it was disappointing when she got released, but her doing intergender
Mm-hmm.
wrestling, that's pretty crazy.
Yeah. You said Ryan beat her though, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah. Of course he did.
Ugh, no math. Fuck.
Not even
Lei
close.
exactly. Lei Ying Lee, who's the Knockouts champion. This was
That's
the Knockouts
Xia Li,
World Tournament.
formerly Xia Li.
Yes. She defeated Zarya, who had Sol Ruka at ringside. The match went 14 minutes,
That is
23 seconds.
surprising. I thought they might have actually slapped that title on Zarya there for sure.
Yeah. Oh my god. Okay. TNA World Tag Team title matchup. The Hardys defeated the Righteous, Dutch and Vincent. That match went 12 minutes, 40 seconds.
Okay.
Yeah, they're so old. Why the fuck? Wow, this show got downvoted to hell. Holy fuck. Okay. I just saw that. I'm sorry. Let me continue. Three-way matchup. I don't know if there were any stakes for this or what. Joe Hendry defeated Cedric Alexander and Moose. Match went 15 minutes, 21 seconds.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm surprised Joe Hendry is even still wrestling on TNA. I thought WWE would have signed him up by now.
Yeah. TNA World Title. Mike Santana, and this was a Texas death match with Nick Nemeth as the special guest referee. Mike Santana defeated Frankie Kazarian, 19 minutes and 13 seconds.
Well, it's good that Mike is still champ.
I just want to read this top review here because they gave it a 1 on Cage Match. A really, really dreadful experience, and probably the last time I watched a TNA show live. The best match of the night was probably the main event, which reached the lofty heights of fine with the worst match being a toss-up between Ryan Nemeth Slop and the past their prime Hardys versus the least relevant tag team ever. Jesus
Who did the
Christ.
Hardys beat?
The Righteous.
Oh, is that Vinny and what's his face? Okay, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah.
Vinny Marcellia. I remember him from back in the day.
Yeah, so thanks Super Blue for asking us about that. I guess my overall thoughts are couldn't give a shit. And now that you've kind of ran into the whole card, can we just say you're at a meh or like good for TNA in some parts, but like don't really care in other parts?
Truthfully, I truly, genuinely, honestly, from the bottom of my heart, could not give fewer fucks about TNA.
God, can I just say it was so fucking hot that you said could not, and like you just did it right. Like I'm not really a grammar Nazi about much, but
Oh,
like yeah,
yeah,
like
no, I mean,
that's we
the
all have our
fact that
thing,
you're
right?
even going out of your way to praise me for something that should just be default is a little insulting, honestly.
I know, but so many people don't do it that like it's just nice to hear it. And again, we all have that one thing, right? And I guess this is just one of
Oh,
my
for sure.
things.
I think most of us have several things.
Yeah. And so thank you. But now we can continue with Super Blues questions.
All right, next up. How do you? Oh wait, we already. Fourth question. No, third question from Super Blue. How is Kit? He said Kip. It's Kit. Kit Wilson. Not guilty for attacking Matt Cardona when he clearly jumped him for no reason.
Now since this question was just for me, I
Oh,
just
it
want to
was.
say that
I didn't know that.
yeah, he said I think he even said in the Q&A just
Oh
for
yeah, that
yeah,
does
he
say
said
for
for John.
John. Yeah.
So, I think I'm gonna speak for the room, and even if I'm not, I'm right. That I find Sean's face to be an exemplary and very credible authority. And first of all, I want to thank DBK for sharing like the initial incident with me, but Sean actually posted the full clip and giving full context. And Sean's verdict was that Cardona should have minded his own business and that he had no sympathy. Now, I'm not usually in the business to correct people that are right. So rather than stoop to the ridiculousness of this question and offer my own rationale, I am just going to piggyback off of the rationale of an excellent man that did the due diligence and watched the evidence. And I mean, if you disagree, I didn't ask to see your whole ass, but it's nice to know you were willing to show it. Next question from Super Blue.
Next question. If they fail to win their world title match, who do you think will crack first and turn heel? Sammy, Matt Cardona, or LA Knight? That is a ridiculous question because Matt Cardona, or LA Knight rather, I don't think was even in one of the qualifying matches, was he?
No, I think he has returned in kayfabe, but these qualifying matches were SmackDown, and I feel like LA Knight's still a Raw guy because he got taken out by the Vision. So
Yeah.
I think Zerbil is just speaking in an imagined future where LA
Wait,
Knight
does
does get a
LA
world
Knight
title
have a
option.
world title shot lined up for like Royal Rumble or Saturday Night's Main Event or something?
No, I think he's just talking about in the future, like when this world title match inevitably happened. That was my
Oh, well,
assumption.
I do think that out of those three guys, the most likely to turn heel is Matt Cardona.
Yeah, probably
Because he
because I
never
think
really
LA.
got a
Yeah,
heel run when he was woo 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 Zack Ryder, and now he's got this different persona ish. And I say ish because he's still the same little bitch boy that he was back then. But I do think that it's more likely that he turns heel out of everyone in that group, and especially because now we've got this whole tension of Kit Wilson attacked him, and people are defending Kit Wilson. So that might be what it takes for Cardona to be like, "Screw you, people." You know what I mean?
I mean, we'll still laugh at him regardless, so he can do what he wants. And kind of like LA Knight. I know he's thinking he's gonna have this triumphant comeback and really take it to the Vision, but you're old and you'll fail. So that's pretty much my opinion on that. And
I just gotta ask, friend. How does it feel to be so right with such confidence?
um, it feels like I finally perfected my imitation of your face. And I wish that our
Wow.
collective faces could be given something better than talking about the mediocrity of LA Knight every week, and that he would just go away. Like if LA Knight retired, it would be a net positive for the business. He's an AI fucking wrestler. He has a stick up his ass that he still hasn't dislodged, and none of his dreams should ever come true. And if they do, it just shows that life is just a fucking lie. So that is my very, very brutal and honest feelings about that dude. So I guess we can get to our next Super Blue question.
All right. Next question from Super Blue. Why would the orange dumbass be worried about losing the midterms and being impeached when he ignores everything that's going on against him?
Um, well, here's the thing about that. I understand why you'd ask that, right? But a lot of people, because again, I'm taking in information from all different places, and people, have reminded others that like elections are run by the state. And so Trump might be worried that he can't strong arm every state because Gavin Newsom's going to want to posture like, oh, we have free and fair elections in California, even though he really can't keep up with the image that his social media team has crafted for him. And others. I personally kind of worry about elections here because we do have a Republican governor that seems very much in on the Trump agenda, and we have some New Hampshire House members that one got called on a hot, well, actually not a hot mic, but a leaked text saying that test scores in schools would improve if we had white-only schools and we did segregation. So that was great that we're just normalizing that fucking shit again. So I do worry about my state a little bit, just at the governor level. Um, but yeah, it's just the idea that can he really strong arm all 50 states? I know that they have been messing with election infrastructure because this was stuff early in his second term, last year. Um, that he was like putting people in place that I think were like election truthers, like, oh, 2020 was stolen and this and that. So I do still worry about midterms. And that's why I said, and even if midterms were fine, they were never supposed to be the stopgap. They were never supposed to be like the final destination for a lot of people's activism. Politics is every day of the year. And we've said that for every presidency, far beyond Trump, right? So that they're going to try and tamper with it. He may try and cancel them. I think he even floated like, oh, there shouldn't even be elections right now because we've got this national immigration emergency or whatever the hell. And he was calling a hot mic saying like, oh, if they get back in, I'll be impeached. Which I had to laugh at because I'm not even so sure about that because Trump is so good for the Democrats. Why get rid of him? It's like I'm not even so sure they would impeach him if you want my honest opinion. But we'll have to
Yeah.
see. But
I mean,
yeah.
honestly, here's okay. So, as somebody who is very capable of thinking like a sociopath, I want to put on my sociopath cap for a moment and just say that if the Democrats really wanted to approach these elections from a purely strategic standpoint, and they genuinely don't give a fuck about harm reduction at all, they
Yeah.
would they would talk to each other and they would have a few designated patsies within the party vote against impeaching Trump, who they know are either going to be retiring or who want out of the game and are going to be getting primaried against in 2028. Um, so that Trump stays in and more people build up their fervor against Republicans and Democrats win in a landslide in 2028 because that would allow them to have the most possible power.
Yeah. No, I can agree with that. Yeah.
Like if Democrats get in and they immediately impeach Trump, then JD Vance is going to be president. It's unprecedented, I believe, and unless they invoke the 25th Amendment, that would be a whole other thing. If they would invoke is it 25th or the 23rd? Help me out, John.
It's 25th Amendment, bro. You were
It is
right. You
okay.
were right.
Yeah. If they invoke the 25th Amendment, then they would be able to get rid of Trump and Vance and all the stooges. That would be, but then again, you would really you have to be in control of the House at that point because if you're not, then we're looking at President Mike Johnson, and literally nobody fucking wants that, right?
Oh God.
Um,
Oh.
I know. Well, that's the thing though. Third in line after the president and the vice president is Secretary or the House Majority Leader, which is Mike Johnson.
Yeah.
So if Democrats win in the House and they would basically if Democrats win hard enough, assuming that 2026 elections still happen for midterms, if the Democrats win hard enough, they could effectively elect their own president.
Yeah. I mean, dude, what's crazy is when you look at the polling data, they are really Like, I could see if the midterms were held tomorrow, they would fucking stump them, and that's with the Democrats still being the Democrats, and I do mean that as an insult, right? Like, they're not fighting, they're not going on the more socially left positions like you see AOC and stuff doing. They're still kind of a minority within their own party. So with them not even doing anything and still being the Dems, like, the Chuck Schumers, the Hakeem Jeffries, they're still stomping a mud hole. Imagine if they actually believed in shit and
Yeah.
good shit on top of that. Like, it would be such a blowout that I honestly think it would be too big to rig. And if they tried to rig it, there would be mass unrest because people would just so vastly prefer that mode of government,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. I
So
mean,
yeah,
here's
it's
here's the
crazy.
thing. Um, if you look on some of these crazy betting websites where you can bet on basically anything,
Yeah.
they're basically saying that there is about a 75 to 77% chance that Dems are going to take back control of the House for midterms. But they're also saying that there's like a 2/3 chance that the Republicans retain control of the Senate, even after midterms.
Damn.
That's crazy. But
Yeah.
that's also why I'm saying, like, if you don't have enough power to invoke the 25th Amendment and pull the entire administration out by its roots, then you need to win again in 2028. And I don't just mean win the presidency, I mean, like, you need to gain seats in both chambers of Congress in 2028 again if you want any momentum at all. If you want to be able
Yes.
to do anything. Like, Republicans right now control the entire government, which means that they were able to pass that horseshit funding bill, which was they called the Big Beautiful Bill. Um, but they still can't pass a lot of the things that they want to pass because they don't have enough control in the Senate. Because they only have, like, I think it's like 53 seats in the Senate, and in order to basically do whatever the fuck you want, you need 60.
Yeah.
And Democrats are caving, that gets to them to 60 sometimes. That's why we're constantly talking about how, like, Maggie Hassan and John Fetterman and some of these other, you know spineless Democrats who keep on conceding to Republican demands need to fucking go. But that's not going to happen the other way around. Democrats, if they want to get anything fucking done, they need 60 in the Senate. And I just don't think that's going to happen, even in 2028.
Yeah. No, I definitely appreciate where you're coming from, and I'm inclined to agree. That's
Because the
why.
last
eh,
time that
yeah.
Democrats had a supermajority in the Senate, they used it to pass Obamacare. And, like, there were a few other issues that they probably could have passed, but they didn't think that it would be such a partisan issue that they rushed it through because they had a supermajority for such a little amount of time. I think they only had a supermajority for like 1 or 2 sessions. And so they were prioritizing passing the shit that they knew they could not pass without bipartisan support.
Right.
And that's how Obamacare got done. But they didn't do shit like codify Roe v. Wade, or, an actual good version of universal health care, and not just Obamacare, because that shit was weak sauce from the beginning. Um, so yeah, like, they had a supermajority for like a month or two and did what they thought they could, and put off the shit that they didn't think that they would need, or that they didn't think would be partisan. They put off the stuff that they figured, hey, there are Republicans on our side. Things like increasing the minimum wage are things that at the time weren't really bipartisan. Those or weren't really partisan subjects. They were pretty bipartisan. Republicans were all about, like, yeah, we're willing to increase the minimum wage every few years. That's fine. And then the Tea Party happened and fucked everything up.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so yeah, I really think that even in 2028, when we get a Democratic president and the Democrats probably are going to control both chambers of Congress, they're still not going to control enough of Congress to actually get their entire agenda through. It's just not going to happen. And Republicans aren't fucking spineless the way the Democrats are, so they're not going to fucking cave on shit like, oh, but if we don't give ICE billions of dollars, then the government's gonna stay shut down. Boo hoo.
Yeah, exactly. Jesus Christ.
So yeah, that's that.
All right.
Do we want to move on to our next question?
Yeah, I think you said it all perfectly. I got nothing to add.
Are you going to try to get your documents to carry with you if you run into ICE?
I'm just hoping that I never do because I live in a rural area and I rarely go out. But I will say that when I do go out, I am tempted to just bring my state ID with me because that's the most that I have.
I keep
And
my
plus we're white,
I keep
so
that's a big one right there, right? I keep
yeah,
my driver's license and my social security card in my wallet, which does not stay at home when I leave the house. I bring my wallet with me everywhere I go. So
yeah.
I don't think I'm ever going to have to deal with ICE, but if the problem should arise, I have my ID and my social security card on me at all times.
Absolutely. And for everybody that this problem does affect, again, stay safe out there. And that for the people that the problem doesn't affect, protect those people,
Well, and
please, any
here's
way
the
you
thing
can.
too. If
Yeah.
you are in the line of sight, like if ICE decides that they want to imprison you, no amount of documentation is going to change their mind. It doesn't fucking matter. They do
Yeah.
whatever the fuck they want. There is no such thing as a fair trial with them. They are literal Nazis roaming the streets kidnapping people. That is what we're dealing with here. And like,
Yes.
as cute as it is to think that an ICE officer could just pull you over and be like, hey, I need proof that you're not an immigrant, and you could show them all of your fucking documentation and be like, alrighty, have a nice day. That's not gonna fucking happen. That's not how this shit works.
No. No, especially if you are putting your body between their state-sanctioned violence and a vulnerable body receiving that violence,
Yeah.
then it really isn't gonna matter.
No.
Because then it's like, because then what happens is what happened to Renee Good, and I'm sure what happened to everybody else that got killed by ICE in
Well, I mean,
2025,
with
you just
Kilmar
get
Abrego
labeled a
Garcia
domestic
comes to
terrorist.
mind too.
Yeah, yeah, you get called a gang member or a cartel member or a domestic terrorist or whatever, and then
Yeah.
that nullifies any
Well, I
any
mean,
proof or whatever you could bring. Yeah.
they literally did. If I remember correctly, didn't they literally pass some kind of a bill that basically redefined domestic terrorist as anyone who is against fascism because they called Antifa a terrorist group?
Yeah, that was NSPM 7. It was like a national security protocol, and I forget what the M stands for, maybe measure or something. So, like, yeah, now the FBI and like all those federal agencies, if you're anti-capitalist, anti-Christian, whatever, it's supposed to be treated as like domestic terrorism. So I
Yep.
feel like much of the country are domestic terrorists by that definition now,
Yeah.
because there is a considerable portion of the
Well,
country
that
that's
was the point,
secular.
though.
Yeah,
The point is,
yeah,
if they make everyone a domestic terrorist,
yeah.
then that gives them carte blanche to be able to arrest anyone they want for no good reason at all and just say domestic terrorism, I'm valid in my arrest.
And then that's why I resoundingly agree with leftists that say, any praxis you do, always make sure that you take care of prisoners, especially and whatnot, because they're defined socially as criminal. And then if we agree that being socially defined as criminal means the forfeiture of these rights and these protections, well, then all you need to do is change the parameters of criminality, and there you go. And that's exactly what's
Yeah.
fucking happened.
Something
So
that you taught me a long time ago that I really want to reiterate here is that no matter how free you think a country is, if felons do not have the right to vote, it is not a free country.
ex- eh, there we go. That I think, yeah, perfect exclamation point.
Any
We can move
country
on
where
to yeah,
someone
yeah.
can take a political opposition voter, label them with some kind of criminal label, throw them in jail, and turn them into a felon, stripping away their right to vote, that's not a free country.
Yes. And really, again, I think that's already the perfect ending. So just consider this like a postscript or an epilogue or whatever. But that's why, like, when you see what happens to black people in this country, and when you see what we export abroad, like the idea that people could look at what was happening in Gaza, and like a lot of people have cared and a lot of people protested. So I'm not like trying to say it like in that way, but I think there was still this disconnect of like, well, Gaza isn't the United States, right? What do you think Gaza was? It was like a social laboratory to import those technologies and techniques here. And that's what we're seeing. The way ICE treated Renee Good, and by the way, that was something I didn't mention. It's now come out that she was still alive when that physician wanted to check on her. And then they said, I don't care. IDF trains police forces in this country. ICE has learned certain tactics from the IDF. That's the Israeli Defense Force that's doing the genocide in Gaza. So when people, because again, a lot of people cared about Gaza. This isn't a moral proclamation. It's more of a sociological and political one. When they thought that there was a disconnect, well, Gaza isn't the US. No, it was the fucking testing ground for the US and abroad. Like, this is Empire and all of its nakedness and violence, and it's coming home now. And the only real positive I take from it, beyond all the solidarity and stuff I talked about in the politics segment, is that these are the actions of a dying empire. No healthy, robust empire would do this kind of shit. This is an empire in decay because China's on the ascendancy and other countries are making moves and kind of reclaiming their sovereignty. And this is the thrashings of a dying empire. And what comes after could either be horrific. Again, we've talked about techno feudalism and complete oligarchic control, or return to true democracy. I mean, I'm even taking another look at lawtocracy, a system I've talked to you about a few times. Like, the future is definitely up for grabs right now, guys, and that's why I'm refusing to give in to doomerism, because I do think it's up for grabs, but we are going up against a fucking Leviathan here. And yeah, absolutely. And I think it's a future where the incarcerated people are restored their fucking human rights and dignities, because once they have them, that safeguards it for all of us. So yeah, I think that was great. We can move on to the next question for Super because I think he has one more, and then we can get to Foster's questions.
Yeah, what should WWE do with Powerhouse Hobbs if he goes to them?
I wanted to know your answer to this because when I heard that Hobbs going to WWE, honestly, I didn't really give a shit about my opinion. I really cared more about yours because I think we've both kind of seen something in Hobbs,
Yeah.
but
So
I'm curious
here's
more
the
what you
thing.
would do with him.
I'm a big fan of Powerhouse Hobbs. I think he's really good.
Yeah.
The problem is Powerhouse Hobbs fills basically the exact same niche that Obafemi fills. And you're obviously going to want Obafemi to be a bigger deal and the bigger star because he's almost a decade younger than Powerhouse Hobbs. So rather than, oh, let's stick them on different brands and just ignore the similarities, I say you address it head on. Powerhouse Hobbs and Obafemi tag team. They dominate. They run through the tag division of whatever show they're on, win the titles, hold them for like 9+ months. Eventually, we get tension, we get a breakup, we get a feud leading to a Mania match. After Mania, they get split into different brands. The elephant in the room has been addressed. They can develop different personalities, different everything, and they don't have to be linked at the hip anymore. How do you feel, John?
Okay. So I just want to acknowledge everything you just said and say that I love the way you're thinking about it. I am gonna be honest with you, and I know this doesn't make me look good, but I'm trying to think as WWE. We've said that Triple H isn't beating the allegations, right? And they have a huge problem with like racism still in 2026. Obviously, they're buddy with Trump. So I say that with all that in mind. How much do you want to bet that? Because I could see a storyline where heel New Day, they go on a bit of a losing streak, and maybe Kofi and Xavier, because WWE has never done anything else with them. It's always New Day, always together. They say like, oh, maybe we do need to ride with somebody again, somebody that won't let us down like E did, so they still get that cheap heat. And then you get Powerhouse Hobbs and almost like a inverted,
Do
like
they
alternate universe
rename
heel
him
Big
to
Hero.
Big P to really shove it in the
Dude,
face?
yes. How much do you want to bet they fucking do that, bro?
Holy
Because that
shit.
that was my immediate thought. Now tell me how off base you think I am thinking that shit.
Can I
Like,
just also address another elephant in the room that you've got a black dude named Big P?
oh fuck.
I I can't imagine they'd be that tone deaf, right?
See, and I already popped because I think I told you this before. This is a really random fucking reference, but we finished a while ago at Welcome to Derry,
Yeah.
and I told you I rewatched a YouTube video where Shaw kind of rescues Pennywise, but then he gets eaten by him, and then one of the comments was like, Shaw really thought he could chill with Big P, and I'm like, that's Pennywise's name from now on. But now you connected those dots, and I'm like, oh, but it's still got because he eats the children. So you know what? Fuck it. Pennywise is the only big P I acknowledge, but yeah, I really do think they're gonna do some kind of heel
Maybe
New Day
maybe
shit
to
with Hobbs.
avoid the weirdness of the name Big P, maybe they call him Big Hob.
There you go. There you go.
That could work.
Yeah, no,
AEW took Big Cass and turned him into Big Bill. We're gonna have Big Hob.
but just to really put it succinctly and straightforwardly, I think he may have a tenure in NXT, but
Yeah.
I think if he gets to the main roster, like they're just gonna pair him
Oh, I
with
will
Kofi
say,
and
I don't
Xavier
think
right away.
I don't think he should have a tenure in NXT. You're right that he's probably going to. I totally see where you're coming from. If
Yeah,
Ricky Saints had to go through NXT, Powerhouse Hobbs is probably gonna have to go through NXT. But my main thing is there is nothing about Powerhouse Hobbs that screams not ready for the big time to me. He's ready for the big time. Put him on TV, damn it.
your face is ready for the big time. God, it's talented. Let's get to Foster's questions, huh?
Yeah, final two questions of the Q&A. First one from Alex Foster is if John Cena, Dwayne Johnson, and Dave Bautista were cast in a movie together, who should direct? And then he also specified you don't have to know the director by name. You could just pick one from a movie you like. But I saw this and I immediately went to Zack Snyder.
I can't beat that answer. I can't beat that answer.
There's one
Yeah.
other name that I'd be open to, and that's Michael Bay.
Yeah. Yeah, one or the other. One
I
or the
mean,
other.
they're both like the quintessential action movie auteurs of our time, right?
Yes. Dude, 100% yes.
Oh man, that's fun.
The only other person, I'm going to throw a weird name out there because let's be real, I am piggybacking off of you. I love those two answers, but just to act like I did something, just for the lulls and how surreal and bizarre that movie might be, Quentin Tarantino with those three
Oh
guys. I'd
my
be curious what
god,
he could
yeah,
do.
that'd be wild.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm going to say Tarantino for my answer. Um, And then his final question, because he only asked two, he said, "You've talked before about what would make you good bookers, but what would be your biggest weakness as bookers?" I'd have two big weaknesses that contradict each other, but that would probably come at different phases of my booking career. So one of my trauma responses is I really am very conflict averse. So I like making everybody happy. There is still parts of me that are people pleasing, even as I'm close to 34 now at this point. So I would try and make everybody a main eventer when you have to realize a good wrestling promotion understands that not everybody could be a main eventer, and the undercard and the mid card are just as vital, if not more vital in some ways. And then the other thing is I would play favorites, but instead of putting the belt on myself, I would just put the belt on people I really, really like. I would be like that parent that says I don't have a favorite child, but I very clearly do. I would play favorites out the ass. If Johnny Mundo, like in his fucking prime, was in my fucking promotion, I mean, how many times do you think I'd give him the world title? The answer, not
Once?
enough, but as many
No, it
as
would
I
be
fucking
once.
could.
He would just never lose it.
That's so true. That's so true. Yeah.
Who
When am
needs
I gonna get the
multiple title reigns when you just never lose the damn thing?
When am I gonna get a turn with the title? Get obliques, you waste of fucking space. Get the fuck off my card.
I imagine that was Dolph Ziggler in my mind asking the question of when he's going to get the
Yeah.
title.
And honestly, because I'd be such a shitheel as a booker, I'd be like, and if you don't get off my property in 10 minutes, I'm calling the police. And then the other talent, I'd be like, I'm still woke though. Like fuck the police. But I mean, this guy is a real fucking hemorrhoid, and it's a
A
problem.
real fucking hemorrhoid. Oh, amazing. I
So
also wanted to throw out one more name of a director because he directed some of the the really good Indiana Jones movies. And if that is the type of action that we can expect from him, then I want more. Steven Spielberg. I mean, come on.
I knew you were gearing up for Spielberg as soon as you said Indiana Jones, and I immediately was like, "Ooh, that is interesting."
Yeah.
But what is your
Yeah, like
weakness as a booker?
I
Yeah,
honestly, I want to see all three of those movies. I want to see the Cena Dwayne Batista movie directed by Zack Snyder. I want to see their version of a movie directed by Michael Bay, and I especially want to see the version of the movie that all three of those guys are in, directed by Steven Spielberg. Like, I want to watch all three of those
yeah,
movies in my mind. Let's not work AI into this, but I still want it to
yeah,
happen.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
All
So
right.
with
So,
that
what would make
established, yeah,
me a shitty
yeah,
booker? I think a big part of it would be trying to find ways to appeal to everyone, and it would occasionally lead to just not appealing to anyone. I also think, again, kind of contradictory to what I just said, kind of like yours, where you say that like you are conflict averse, but you would also play favorites. I would try to appeal to everyone, but at the same time, there would absolutely be instances where something just wasn't working, and I would be really stubborn about it and be like, "These fans don't know what they fucking want. This is good shit, god damn it."
So you'd have the Vince problem essentially,
I
because
guess
wasn't that like
so.
his?
Yeah, I guess so.
Damn. You know what? I really
You know
appreciate that
what though?
honesty,
If
though.
I would be Vince McMahon as a booker and not Vince McMahon as a person, that's a compromise I'm willing to accept.
And you know what, too? I don't think you give yourself enough credit because, at least in my experience with you, it's not so much that you would tell the people that they were wrong. Actually, quite the opposite. I think if you knew something wasn't working, you'd be neurotic in what it was because you need answers to shit. You are
Yeah,
definitely a tinkerer, figure it out kind of guy.
yeah,
So, like, you wouldn't give it up because if you give it up in your mind, it's not because the fans are wrong, it's because you're forfeiting. And I know your face hates to concede when you haven't found an answer. So
well,
you'd be like,
and
why
right,
didn't this work?
yeah. I would be asking all of my writers and even like the agents and the other wrestlers and stuff why they think that whatever it is isn't working. And rather than just giving up on it, I would try and make whatever tweaks that are suggested to me by the experts to try and make it work.
Yeah. No, I think, yeah, that, because just being around you, I know you're very committed to finding answers to shit.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think you would just be tinkering endlessly and then be like, finally, it works.
I
But
will
by then,
also say on that sort of line of thinking, I do have a tendency to not want to take feedback immediately. Like if I'm confronted with a decision and I'm like, okay, I know what I want to do. I want to do this. And someone in the room goes, that's a really shitty idea. I have experience. Here's why you shouldn't do that. I'm going to be like, you know what? You're probably right, but I'm doing it anyway.
I really thought you were going up to say it. You're probably right, but fuck you. And I was about to pop so
I,
hard.
I, the thought crossed my mind. I'm not going to lie.
Yes. Hey, that's questions. So we can now do high spots and low shots.
Yes, we can.
Um, my low shot. Jeez, who is it gonna be? Because I'd actually like to do a wrestling one this time,
Nice,
just to
nice.
just to be a bit lighter. Because high spot will probably still be
Well,
political for
I'm
me.
going to
'Cause
give my low
yeah.
shot first. My low shot is to, very unfortunately, Kizuna Tanaka, who had a tragic injury earlier today, or I guess it would be yesterday now, that where she had a fractured bone in her ankle, and it was like a Sid off the second rope situation where her foot was kind of dangling.
Oh God.
Yeah,
Oh God. Poor Kizuna Tanaka.
I
Jeez.
know, and that's the
That
thing too is like it was traumatic enough for an adult man in Psycho Sid's case to experience that kind of injury. Kizuna Tanaka is a 21-year-old little tiny Japanese girl. Like that's horrific.
dude, between that and the back problem she had like last year at some point,
Last
like
March,
give that,
yeah, yeah, that
yeah,
was brutal too.
yeah, give that girl a break. I mean, I really do have to wonder if Kizuna's going to be another one that just has to retire early just because
An
of the health
Itsuki
issues. Like,
Hoshino situation.
yeah, like it's
Yeah,
crossing my mind, brother.
I
I
hope
can't lie to
not,
you.
but we'll see.
I guess
If she
you know
does
what?
retire from wrestling, I still hope she does something that allows her to stay in the public eye.
Yeah, for sure. You know what? It's so easy. Why didn't I see it before? My low shot is gonna be Mid Cardona because not only
Okay,
did you lose to
I
Trick
just
Williams,
was that JD Vance on South Park? Was that what that
I
was?
I heard it at the very end. I was going for like a Cartman, but it was
Okay,
more JD Vance when it came
okay,
out of my mouth. Yeah, no,
okay.
you yeah. Good ear though, good ear. But yeah, Mid Cardona. I mean, you lost to Trick Williams, and then you got punked like a bitch by Kit Wilson, who rightfully screamed toxic in your face while you were holding your shoulder as if you had been through something. Bitch, go back to your spray tan and give up. Fuck. Who's your high spot?
My high spot is going to be Mike Santana.
Well, there you go.
What was the name of the TNA show again?
Was it Genesis? It was Genesis.
2026 Genesis. Mike Santana successfully defended his TNA championship against Frankie Kazarian in a Texas death match, which I'm sure was garbage.
Yeah, yeah.
And I really
All
just can't
right.
think of anyone else to give a high spot to. So,
No, that's fair.
so
All
who's
right, so
yours?
my Oh, I'm sorry. What was that?
I said all right. So who's yours?
All right, my high spot. Let me think here. I think my honorary high spot again is going to go to the people of Minnesota. They're still holding it down. They're still fucking fighting ice and taking care of each other, and no bigger high spot than that to me.
And
As
honestly,
far
Philadelphia too. Did you see that speech that that woman gave, who was like the chief of police in Philadelphia that I posted?
I did see that. I'm
Holy
telling you,
shit!
yeah.
We need more energy like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of honorary low shot, Jacob Frey, the mayor of
Oh
Minnesota
yeah.
or Minneapolis,
He looked
fuck
cool
you.
for about 3 seconds, and then he was like, "But wait, my capitalism, though."
I'm scared. You know what? Like, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry because I know we're on the last segment, but I need to say this too. Like, it boils my blood something fierce when
Yeah.
politicians are like, I'm afraid for my life. First of all, you're a public fucking servant. Assume the fucking risk. Second of all, laughs in black person in America, laughs in
Yeah.
Hispanic in America, laughs
Laughs
in woman
in
in
Native
America.
American.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. Like, regular people that don't have the social capital or political capital that you have on a daily fucking basis risk their lives in far greater magnitudes than you do simply by virtue of their existence. Cry me a fucking river and get the fuck over it.
Do
So
you
yeah, just had to.
remember the guy that I used to post, the TikToker that I used to post pretty frequently, who was very like pro like male emotional awareness? I think his name was Jack. I forget
Yeah, yeah, I
his
remember him.
TikTok name. It was something Coyote. Watchful Coyote. That's what it was.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
he is married to a native woman and lives on, I believe, their reservation. And he, right around the time that Trump took office, like back in like January, February of last year, he was posting shit about how people who were part of his community were getting snatched up by ICE, and he was like having to like actively fight people to try and save them.
Yeah, again, it happens. It starts with us.
Yeah.
It is a fight from the bottom on the ground to the fucking top, which is where all organic, substantive, and enduring revolutions happen, is from the bottom, never the top. Fuck these fucking people. But to get back to my actual high spot, who will I fucking give it to? There actually was a politician in Virginia that I think did something where like ICE wouldn't be allowed in the state or something, or some kind of a measurement between Virginia and ICE. Let me see if I could Google that real quick and
Oh
get a
yeah,
name.
I did see that. The new governor of Virginia, I believe, was who did it.
Yeah, what exactly did he
Governor
do so that like
Spanberger.
these names are starting to get NFL-esque, man. What the fuck?
No,
Um,
it's Abigail Spanberger is her name, and her first act as governor of Virginia was to repeal Glenn Youngkin's executive order that mandated that state and local law enforcement cooperate with ICE.
yeah, that is
So
what we fucking need. So I'm gonna
ICE
make
just became a
Spanberger.
hell of a
Yeah,
lot less friendly in Virginia. Or maybe I should say the other
exactly.
way around. Virginia just became a hell of a lot less friendly towards ICE.
So I'm gonna say Spanberger, my high spot here. But I also reiterate again: when they do good things, embrace the good things. But always remember, it happens at the fucking bottom. And I'll tell you, I think that good thing only happened because of the pressure on the bottom, because there is so much discontent with ICE and so much community solidarity and pushback.
I'm also
There are
seeing
people
here, by the
too.
way, that apparently there are Republicans like Murkowski, McConnell, John Kennedy, who are warning Trump that if he even tries to invade Greenland, they will impeach him.
Yeah, I mean, I'm telling you, they see what this is.
My
They,
question is, would they
yeah,
impeach or would they invoke the 25th? Because I want to see the 25th get invoked so that we don't have to deal with President Vance.
I agree with you about the 25th. If they really think that this just dies with Trump, which again is the problem with a lot of U.S. logics revolving around
Yeah, like it's
politics, is
literally
that
like
it's like, yeah,
Vance is literally Peter Thiel's fucking sock puppet. And you don't think
yes,
that it's Peter Thiel's idea to invade Greenland in the first place? He's the one that wants to turn these countries into like fucking tech utopias.
yeah. Tech billionaires have already said they want to establish a quote unquote freedom city in
Freedom.
Greenland.
Oh, Freedom City. I
Yeah,
didn't know about that.
yeah. I mean, no, it's dystopia because for them, Freedom City is, well, we make all the rules. There'll probably
Yeah,
be a rampant
freedom for
pedophilia there.
us
Just
because we
yeah.
are the kings there.
Exactly. No, it's the age of techno feudalism. But let me tell you something about the feudal period. Having read some literature there, a lot of uprisings, a lot of unrest. Again, from below. Your neighbor is your best ally. I fucking, unless of course they're Gestapo too, but you get what I mean. I'm saying neighbor in a metaphorical sense. Your neighbor is your best ally. Your comrade is your best ally. So Spanberger again gets the high spot, but it's very tentative because politicians need to be doing more of this. They need to know where the political winds are blowing. And honestly, looking at the Dem Party more broadly, I'm just going to say this now because I know people are going to come for me later, when it's relevant. If Gavin Newsom is the nominee for 2028, I don't really know if he's going to get my vote. Like, I already had to torture myself with Kamala and Biden before that, but Newsom's already saying, like, oh, I'll prevent attacks on billionaires and this and that. You are fundamentally missing the fucking moment. And I guarantee you he's going to be another one of those trained ICE agents pieces of shit. Like, no, we need to start demanding better. I'm tired of
ICE.
making concessions.
I think you might have posted this in the politics channel. ICE is literally Nazis. So when you say that we need to train ICE better, you're saying that we need better trained Nazis on the streets.
Exactly. Like, I'm telling you guys, and like, I know there have even been people in our Discord that have been like, "Oh, John, whatever. Like, you gotta do the vote." I know you and I have even had very compassionate talks about like, it is harm reduction. I feel like me personally, I feel like we're past the point of harm reduction. We need to start demanding more from the fucking party. Like, if you're not willing to tax billionaires, if you're not willing to abolish ICE or at the very least severely defund them, which I still don't even think is enough,
Right.
some people have even said we need to abolish the Department of Homeland Security. And to be honest, yeah, yeah. Like, what are we trying to secure ourselves from when we're the ones exporting terrorism across the globe? But like, yeah, we need to start realistically. I know not everybody's radical like me. I get that. I appreciate that, honestly, because it also kind of reins me in on things that I'm just genuinely wrong about. But fundamentally, we need to start demanding more from the fucking party. I'm tired of being the one always having to concede, always having to be like, oh, well, the next election. Well, the elections keep coming and things just seem to keep getting worse. So it's time we start demanding more from this fucking party. And yeah, Spanberger's got to be the fucking model. Like, don't be afraid to take a stand on this shit and do more than performative shit. Like, her and Jacob Frey are complete fucking opposites because she rescinded an order. Hell, Mamdani, to give him credit, all the Zionist stuff that Eric Adams, who by the way got caught in another scandal recently because he grifted New Yorkers with like a fucking meme coin or whatever, so he made fucking bank. Mamdani, he already repealed all the executive orders that were like Zionist protections in New York. We have a Congress that wanted to pass fucking military grade benefits to people that did dual service, in Israel taking part in a genocide. So if you were an IDF soldier but also an American soldier, or I guess just like an American that served in the IDF or whatever, you would get, those benefits, those kinds of protections. And people are looking around like, I can't afford formula for my fucking newborn. We need to demand more from a party that's in place while also making a party our fucking selves. So yeah, Spanberger's kind of leading the way. I want to see more of it. I want to see more people not be so fucking feckless and cowardly when marginalized groups put their lives on the line daily just by fucking breathing and still doing the best they can. Stop being fucking pathetic and get in the fucking game. So that's what I got there. And yeah, because you gave your high spot. Your high spot was Mike Santana. So we're good. We can go. Guys, please leave a like if you file out. Subscribe, click the bell icon for notifications so you don't miss any of that TWitWoW goodness. Check out everything we're involved in the search box. Follow us on Blue Sky and Twitch because we are the best podcast on the internet today. And yeah, I'm definitely assuming that next week we will have Monty Gold. I mean, how much longer could the pay-per-view be? I think this would be week 3, and I feel like it usually takes 3 weeks
Oh, dude, it should be
for
up by
a
now. Actually,
yeah.
it said
So
that it was going to be up on the 17th, so I am going to pull it up just to confirm, so that we don't have to leave out of
yes,
here without confirmation. Um, it was the 1-3 show, if I remember correctly. And why am I not seeing it? What the hell?
did it just not go up? Maybe.
If it did go up. Oh, there it is. I found it. Okay.
Okay.
And
Okay.
it is up. It is fully up. We can watch it. We're good. So we'll do that
Cool.
on Monday, or actually, no, Tuesday or Wednesday, whichever of those days is not your family day. Most likely Wednesday, I would assume.
I would assume Wednesday. No, because it's pay-per-view. Should we aim for 5, or are we
I would
only going to do
definitely
so
say
few matches?
five.
We can
Yeah.
still
We're not going to watch the whole
okay.
pay per view, but we have enough that we should probably have 5.
Okay, Wednesday at 5, guys. We'll be doing it. This is good for me because it'll kind of correct my sleep schedule a little bit, and then I'll be
Hopefully,
like, "All
yeah.
right, Ash, I'm gonna take a 2-hour nap. I'll
Yeah.
see you later tonight." But yeah, guys, see us Wednesday at 5 for Monty Gold. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for listening to my ravings, particularly about politics. I know I drone on, but it's an important moment we're in, and thought it was some fun wrestling talk this week though, and. God damn it! By next week, I will beat Triple H's Randy Orton Smackdown vs. Raw
I
2006.
believe in you.
I'm gonna cook up a plan. I mean, that
How's Sly 2
RKO,
going, by the way?
dude. I touched a little bit of it. It's a different feel. I gotta keep giving myself to it because yeah, it's not what I expected. But I'm more dialed in on SmackDown right now. Actually, too, I should tell you, I because this I forgot. I actually started playing the Castlevania game for PS2 on there. I think it was Castlevania Curse of Darkness. I want to say.
Hmm.
That's been a lot of fun.
I
I'm actually yeah.
literally went out of my way to get Castlevania games for you because I thought it would be a game that you would enjoy if you tried it. So,
And your face, as per usual, was correct. But yeah, I guess my last word of advice with everything serious going on is if you're going to perform an RKO, make sure you have the right amount of space to do it. And with that said, folks, be good to yourselves and each other. Tune in and peace out.